Good evening and welcome to the Carnegie Town Hall. This meeting of the Sioux Falls City Council will begin in a few moments. The City Council meets on the first, second, and third Tuesday of each month at 7 o'clock p.m. and serves as the city's policy-making and legislative body. Each meeting is governed by Robert's Rules of Order unless those guidelines conflict with city ordinance or charter. City Council meetings offer an opportunity for citizens to speak directly to their elected representatives. Those in attendance are invited to address the Council during the public input segment at the beginning of the agenda. At that time, any issue that is not subject to formal action later in the agenda can be addressed. Testimony that concerns a resolution or an ordinance's second reading is only allowed when those specific agenda items are being addressed by the Council. When addressing the Council, citizens should speak directly into the microphones at the podium and state their names for the record after being recognized by the chair. To accommodate and respect all viewpoints, citizen comments are limited by ordinance to no more than 5 minutes each. Comments should be respectful and focused on providing new information that will benefit the Council's deliberative process. The chair reserves the right to limit the number of speakers. City Council meetings are broadcast live on CityLink and online at www.siouxfalls.org. Information regarding the City Council, its committees, meetings, briefings, and members is available by visiting www.siouxfalls.org/council or by calling the Council office at 605-367-8085. Thank you for your interest in Sioux Falls City government.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. What a great crowd. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. We certainly appreciate your interest in our city government. Today is Tuesday, August 2nd. We'll start by introducing you to our City Council.
Councilmember Staley? Erickson?
Yes. Here.
Erpenbach?
Here.
Kiley?
Here.
Neitzert?
Present.
Rolfing?
Here.
Selberg?
Here.
Starr?
Here.
Councilors, thank you. Thanks for being here tonight. In Sioux Falls, we start our City Council meetings with an invocation. And I'm very, very pleased to have Iva Spooner here with the prayer, who's a prayer partner at the Direct Line Prayer Center. And folks, for those of you who don't know, the Direct Line Prayer Center is located right across the street from City Hall. And these folks, they pray for you on a daily basis. They pray for city leaders on a daily basis. They're just doing wonderful things. And so Iva, thanks for being here tonight, leading us in prayer and with this invocation. What we'd ask is the folks here tonight, if you wouldn't mind standing and then remain standing for not only the invocation, but for our Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, Iva.
Thank you, first of all, for this opportunity this evening. And I would ask if you would just bow your heart and not your head in prayer. The scripture in 1 Timothy 2nd chapter says this: first of all, supplication and prayer and intercession and giving of thanks is to be made for all men, and I included women as well, for kings and for all that are in authority, so that we may live and lead a quiet and peaceful life in all godliness and honesty, for this is good and is acceptable in the sight of God our Savior. So on behalf of the mayor of this city and the City Council, I will pray. I ask our Lord and Savior to grant each one of them the spirit of wisdom and knowledge along with understanding, as they assemble here together to seek for the welfare of this great city, and I do say great city, to which they have been chosen to do. It is my prayer for them that they would put their trust in the Lord, especially when things are at its hardest. Help them, dear Lord, to not rely completely on themselves, but to acknowledge you, and you will direct their pathway. Proverbs 3:5 and 6. A man's ways is not in himself, nor is it in a man who walks to direct his own steps. For the steps of this mayor, the steps of Mayor Huther, and this city council are ordered by you. So I would ask, Heavenly Father, delight yourself in the steps that they would take in leading in this city. The steps that will give them the right decision when it's time to make decision. Lastly, I pray for unity. Unity that would bring great success. For it is good and pleasant in the eyes of our Lord and Savior. For where the spirit of unity is, and where unity will prevail, it will be more powerful than any opposing forces. It is where the Lord will command a blessing. Psalms 133. So tonight, as I end my prayer, I pray a blessing upon the mayor of this city. I pray a blessing on the city council. And I pray that the Lord will bless you and lead you and direct you in all your ways. I pray for your families today. As you stand with your families, I pray that the Lord will be pleased in all you're doing. For this is a great city. And I pray that you would acknowledge him in everything you do, even tonight. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Council, we're now going to move to our consent agenda. Any items of discussion on the consent agenda?
Move to approve, Erpenbach.
Second, Rolfing.
Councilor Box made a motion to approve our consent agenda, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. If there is no discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Our regular agenda, Council, any changes to that?
Move approval, Rolfing.
Second, Kylie.
Council Chair Rolfing's made a motion to approve our agenda tonight, seconded by Council Vice Chair Kylie. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
That has also passed 8-0. Thank you. Welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. This is an opportunity for you to engage the council on any topic that you think is important for them to hear, for me to hear, for the people of Sioux Falls to hear. We also know that there's some agenda items coming up later on that you may want to speak to as well. If it is an agenda item later on, we'd ask you to wait until that particular timing to talk about that. If it is a second reading, for example. We also know there's some folks here who want to talk about the city administration topic. That will come up later in the agenda, and I'll certainly let you know about that. But really, any other topic, feel free to come forward and let us know your thoughts. Welcome. Oh, and sorry, two things. Just tell us your name, please, and if you can keep your comments to 5 minutes or less, the council would appreciate that. Welcome.
Hi, Bruce Danielson, Sioux Falls. I just had a little awakening last Wednesday, and I decided to just let everybody kind of catch up on what's been happening since Wednesday. We've been, a group of us have decided to have some fun and get some work done and help out the city in this effort to do a petition drive to put on to take this office building to a public vote. And I thought I would let everybody know at this point that I don't have an exact count on any numbers right now, but we're actually looking at a preliminary guess of we could have upwards of 1,500 in the last 3 days. We have already been, I've already put out about 11,000 signature lines. People have been asking for them. I spent the weekend delivering these packets right here to people all over town. And I was up till 11:30 last night delivering yet. And I want to tell you, yesterday morning in the first 38 minutes at the administration building, we had 60 signatures. I had 8 clipboards running at the same time. I ran out of pens, and people were pulling pens out of their own pockets. In 44 years of doing petition drives, I have never seen such an outpouring of people searching for us. We have people assuming we're going to be at the administration building, and they're searching for us. And when they walk up to us, they just grab the petition from us, and they end up taking that petition and wanting to sign it. And I don't think I could hold the petition back from some of the people that have been signing it. You people up here at the dais and the people of Sioux Falls, right now I was trying to do a count of people who have been refusing to sign the petition because of either alliance to certain people or thought process and so on. But right now, the best I can guess is between 9 and 10 want to sign the document and 1 will refuse. That's some pretty heavy percentages of people that want some kind of a decision to fit this. So I have asked Jim to put this up, and I just want you to know that in this whole process, we've been stressing we're not opposed to a needed office building. We're not opposed to any individuals. All we're asking is this petition stops the use of sales tax revenue bonds for this project. This building, the misconception that many people have had, and we tried to stress that in the news conference yesterday, that this is not replacing the current city hall. You people on the city council and the previous city councils have never approved this building. And I know that this is upsetting people that I'm bringing this forward, and I'm working very hard to do this. And we're going to be announcing some major signing events this weekend, and we are going to have some large turnouts, and we're going to be starting to collect the petitions so that by next week, we should have some pretty good round numbers on what's going on. And anybody can contact me. My contact information is out there, freely available for anybody to work with. And I thank you for your time, and I thank you to the people of Sioux Falls for making this just the most amazing experience I've ever had in petition gathering. Thank you.
Folks, if it involves the city administration building, as I discussed right from the get-go, that topic is coming up later on. Council Chair Rolfing, certainly asked me to, be cognizant of the fact that I didn't mention that. Council Chair, my apologies. He was in it.
Topic that came up. Yeah.
Yes, I understand, and so cognizant of that. Councilors, my apologies. We'll deal with it and we'll move on. Folks, again, if it involves the administration building, that topic is coming up. It is item number 36. Okay, we'll get to that. I swear it's coming. So if you wouldn't mind holding off your comments on that until that time. Welcome, sir.
Dan Daly.
Hi, Dan.
I'm ashamed to say, a citizen of Sioux Falls. Mr. Rolfing, I remove my hat out of respect. You're welcome. This petition process is invaluable. I'm not going to talk about the administration building.
Thanks, Dan.
There are some other things. Home rule charter is unconstitutional, and I believe this petition process could be used to force you to do something about it. For one thing, the city cannot enforce its ordinances. You have a 3-citation process. It's double jeopardy. I can get those cases dismissed every day. I'm not even a lawyer. I think the best thing to do would be a petition with 1 citation and a mandatory hearing of 5 city directors, and then go to court. We don't want you destroying our property values like you did at McKinnon Park. Otherwise, another petition, and there's an office now at the 300 building, and it should remain open permanently. Another petition could be a $2,000 booking an intake fee every time someone's arrested. There's been false arrests. I know someone who just spoke who was falsely arrested. There are others. Those that do not comply with the citation process get a disturbing the peace. I'm tired of the roundups before the weekend of indigent people we need to take care of. Perhaps another petition. That's all I got to say.
Dan, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Welcome.
I'm Roger Algersma. I seen the paper a couple of weeks ago that you were considering the possibility of some limitation or have to sign in before we could speak here. And we used to have to sign in, and I think if people think through what they're going to say before they get here is proper, if we're going to take all your time. And so I didn't mind signing in. The only time I think people shouldn't sign in is if a whole group comes and only a few are going to talk instead of everybody repeating themselves. And if someone else comes in and says something that's not true or it's only half the truth to steer something, I think someone should be able to correct the problem instead of waiting a week so that you don't vote on something with not good quality information. The one method that I was kind of disgusted with as far as suggesting someone shouldn't come here. Twice the library cop came to me in the downtown library. The first time didn't concern me much. He says, I was watching TV and I seen you talking in City Hall. What are you doing in City Hall? Well, it could be taken either what right do I have here or what was I doing when I was here. So I explained, I says, what was I talking about? Oh, he didn't hear, he didn't know. So I explained what I'd said the last time I was here, and then he left and went on his route around the library. And then about a month ago, which is a couple months after the first time, he comes to me and he says, I heard this rumor, I'm wondering if you know if it's true. He says, the mayor hit somebody in the face in City Hall. Did you hear that? I said, no. And he said, well, but did you hear about that? I said, well, it would have probably come in the news, and I didn't hear the news. And he was still wondering if I'd heard about it, and I said, well, maybe he just bumped somebody a little. He said, then he switched. He switched from saying he didn't know to, yeah, he punched somebody right in the face, right in City Hall after the meeting. So when he switches the story, I know his credibility isn't what you'd think a cop would be, but he said that you hit him for coming here too often and harassing him. And when I've been coming to City Hall, I take it kind of as a veiled threat that we're not supposed to come here more than, you can count on one hand or something. So when someone, I don't know if he did this on his own or someone told him to. I mean, the guy's past 50, he's around long enough, it wasn't like some young guy didn't know what he's doing. But to be approached like that, and the guy never cared about what I was saying here. It's just, these veiled threats just seemed inappropriate way to influence who comes to City Hall how many times. So I don't know more than that about it. It just seemed inappropriate.
Roger, thank you very much. Appreciate it, sir. Welcome.
Scott Erisman, Sioux Falls. I'll have to agree with Roger there. There's enough intimidation by a lot of people that they don't want to come here and speak, and to put up more rules is not the way to go. I'm all for signing in and writing my name down, but I think that would be the limit of public input. That way the clerks don't have to search for how to spell names, and that would be very helpful for them. But other than that, they should be able to speak about any topic they want to. I want to talk about the very interesting signs over in Spellerberg Park. Midco had an agreement with the city to sponsor the Midco Aquatic Center, and as I understand that agreement, besides paying for some of the signage and some of the stuff on the inside of the building, they are supplementing the operations of the building while the rest of us are picking up that slack. The people who are the main sponsors of the Aquatic Center are you and me, the taxpayers of Sioux Falls. We built the building with our money, Midco did not. They are well within their agreement, if you read their sponsorship agreement, that they can have signs on the building, signs in the building, and an entryway sign, and they all look very nice, and I have to commend Midco for doing a very professional job of the signage. But a lot of people are concerned about the signs that are in the park on 26th Street and 22nd Street, where there's this monster Midco sign, and then underneath it, really small, it says Spellerberg Park. I've had people go, is Midco sponsoring the entire park? No. Well, why do they have that sign there? So I did some asking around, and as I understand, the team, the special projects team, approved the signage, and they passed it on to the park board, and the park board approved the signage. Now, I'm not totally opposed to the signs. All the parks have signs. If you go by any park, it says there's a Van Epps Park sign, there's a McKinnon Park sign. But why wouldn't we have just did a big sign that said Spellerberg Park and then maybe a small underneath Midco Aquatic Center with an arrow? It just looks like it's really gaudy, and it looks like our park is being sponsored by a corporate entity, and it's no longer a public park. The only thing about the Midco's sponsoring the aquatic center. That's it. They aren't sponsoring mowing the grass, the tennis courts, or anything. Nothing with the park. Those signs should have never got approved. And I don't know how that got slipped through. But it goes back to our concerns with construction manager at risk and how these little things get passed through and the public doesn't get to have an input on it. I think the signs should be taken down, to tell you the truth. They look gaudy and unprofessional. And I think that, we're going to go to McKinnon Park someday and see a big Pepsi-Cola sign up there sponsored by Pepsi-Cola. Or maybe we'll drive by Terrace Park Pool and sponsored by Billion Automotive. I mean, come on. Are we that broke in this town that we got to get sponsorships for our parks? Come on. As for, I was listening today during the budget hearings, and they were talking about there's nothing in the budget to fix SIRE, something that's been broke for years. Oh, well, they talked about it. Well, we know it only works on one platform, and that's in Windows. So if you have a Windows computer or Windows, it doesn't work on a phone. So we have no plans on fixing SIRE. What concerns me even more as I watch the county meetings. And the city is the county actually just spent $40,000 buying new equipment to record their meetings. And the city is contracted to record these meetings. They can't record those meetings right either. 2 weeks ago, you could barely hear the meeting. Last week, for the first 25 minutes, there was zero audio. So now the city's not only doing their own meetings right, they're contracted to do the county meetings, and those meetings aren't right. And we have central services runs these meetings, and they come up here and they want us to take their advice that they fully vetted a city administration building when they can't even record a meeting properly. Something needs to be done there. If I have a little bit of time left, I want to thank Zach DeBoer for volunteering his time to paint a city street. He spent $200 of his own money for spray paint, stood out in a city street painting it. Sounds like a safety issue, doesn't it? I asked him about it. I said, they didn't have any objections to you standing out in the street and spray painting it. He said, yeah, I was surprised. And I said, that's really surprising. And he said, they told me they didn't have the money to spray paint the street. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Robin Mulvey, M-U-L-V-E-Y. I'm not even a resident of Sioux Falls. I apologize for taking your council meeting time. I would first like to take a second to thank Greg Neitzert for responding to an email that was forwarded to all the council members. In July of this year, my daughter and I had tickets to the Sioux Falls Storm game at the Denny Sanford Premier Center. And we went there and were asked to have our purses searched, and my daughter said, why do you need to look at my purse? And they said, because we're checking for firearms, knives, weapons, anything like that. So she just discreetly handed one of the security officers her legal permit to carry a concealed weapon, which she had in her purse. We're not psychos, we're not crazy terrorists, we're not idiots. We just strongly believe in the Second Amendment and our right to bear arms. Because it is a city-owned property, we feel that we were very much within our rights to do so. The gentleman who stopped us said, "Would you please step this way for a minute?" And we said, "Sure, no problem." And he said, "It'll be fine, I just need to call someone and they will verify that your permits are in order and they'll want to know where you're sitting." And we said, "Oh, we're fine with that." I said, "Would you like to see mine too?" And he said, "You too?" I said, "Absolutely." So I showed him my permit and we waited for security, and a gentleman came and said, "Okay, it's fine." Well, I don't know who put a bug in his ear, but we weren't 20 steps down the walkway going towards our seats. And they said, "Actually, would you come with us?" And they pulled us aside. And they called in 2 off-duty police officers who were working as security. And we asked them if they were security or police officers, and they said police officers. We got badge number 726, Detective Redmond, and badge 659, Vandervelde or Vandervelde, I don't know how you pronounce it. The only reason I'm coming here is I tried to go through the police department. I contacted the mayor's office and the city attorney's office, as well as the council, to try and get a little satisfaction on this matter. I had with me a copy of the state law that says a municipality cannot restrict a person's permit to carry on public property. I tried to show the officers this, and they said, "Nope, we don't care, we can't." And I said, "This says right here that you cannot restrict our rights." And the officers insisted they could. I said, "Well, what gives you the authority?" And they said, "The City of Sioux Falls." So I proceeded to try and discuss this with them, and they got really rude. The one officer said, "We're not going to stand here and discuss this with you. You leave, or go put your weapons in your car, whatever. You're not going to bring them in here." And I looked at my daughter and I said, "Oh, this is ridiculous." And the one officer, Officer Vandervelde, said, "Yes, you are." And I said, "Excuse me?" And he said, "No, I won't excuse you." I was very upset. That was uncalled for. I said, "That was not necessary." And he said, "You started it first," as if he were a 4-year-old. I said, "I was referring to the situation being ridiculous. I did not get personal. That was not appropriate, and I don't think it was necessary." They then asked for our photo ID, which we did not have to legally provide, but we did. We have nothing to hide. I told my husband later, jokingly, that's probably the most boring background check he's ever run in his life, but serves him right. Anyway, to sum it up, my rights were violated. I did not appreciate it. Some of the emails that I received back from different city officials basically tried to dismiss me and say, "Well, it wasn't us, we hire a management firm." And my answer to that is, you can't just hire away your obligation to support the state law. I am a member of the Elkton City Council. I have been for several years, and the acting president for many of those years. I'm not sure about you, but the oath I took when I was sworn into office was part of it to uphold the laws of the state of South Dakota and the South Dakota Constitution, not just the ones that are convenient or the ones that I approve of. I would appreciate it if the council would discuss this, take this issue up. I believe that my daughter and I are owed a face-to-face apology from these officers. Instead, we got a response from the police department saying, "Don't worry, we talked to them and we don't feel like they did anything wrong." So again, we were just dismissed.
Robin, thank you. Folks, anybody else want to engage the council? Welcome. Please come forward.
Hi. My name's Lisa Bass. I apologize. I am running a little late. We were supposed to sign
Lisa.
in.
You're fine. No, okay. You're good.
Just as a parent of an almost 2-year-old, I have had a chance to enjoy the sprinkler park. I'm not quite sure what the name of it is again. What was it called? Pioneer Sprinkler Park. And I was just bringing to the council's attention that I believe there's a need for a city park and rec employee to be on duty or on staff to kind of supervise what's going on there. The hours it's open are from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Sunday. And just some of the things I've witnessed, I've been there 3 times and haven't been back since. The last time I was there, we had a tribal vehicle parking in a no parking area, which blocks the only sloped curb to get up into the park. So witnessing people having to go off curb, off into the parking area to wheel a stroller or what have you. I had another lady I asked, she had a large German Shepherd on a leash, but was allowing it to walk into the park area next to small children and drink from the spouting water where the children were playing. I told her I'm familiar with German Shepherd breeds. I'm not familiar, I didn't approve of that. And I said, that sign says no dogs. She said she had it was like a permit, not a permit, but she had a special condition where she was able to have the dog. I'm not sure what they called it, but like a medical. It was a service dog. She had no paperwork or any documentation. She didn't even have a tag on it, but she said she could take it anywhere. Also that evening, I saw 3 teenage boys that were done playing basketball. They came over. There is a bucket dump that'll dump water. And periodically, the different sprinklers will stop while the other ones will take over or go. And during this time, they were not happy it stopped dumping water, so they started to climb the pole and violently shake it. One of them also had a large gash on his leg, and there was blood running down into the water, and I told them that they both needed to stop. And I got the "you're not our mother." And I said, well, you need to, otherwise I'm going to call the police. And they said, we're doing nothing wrong. So at that point, I just left with my child, plus the smoking issue. Every time I've been there, I've had to ask somebody to not smoke. And I think there's one small sign posted in the park, but I mean, at one point there was a lady walking around the edge. I've had people sit right next to us on the grass and smoke, and I'm very anti, you don't smoke around small children, that's my opinion. But I do think with the budget, they should have enough money for at least one park person to be there. I've been told to call the police. I don't think it's a police matter to take them off of other important issues to come to the park and tell a teenager to stop shaking a pole. So I think with a park and rep person on staff there, that would eliminate some of the issues. So thank you.
Lisa, thank you. Can we just get your last name, please?
It's Bass, B like boy, A-S-S.
Lisa, and Lisa, do you live in Sioux Falls?
I do.
Thank you, Lisa. We'll be in contact with you. Thank you. Thanks for coming tonight. Well, folks, thank you. We appreciate. Ms. Colby, did you want to speak, sir?
Robert Colby. I was on vacation and came back, and the only newspaper that had been delivered was one that commented about public input, and thought I might give you some general information and a little background. When on the county commission, we used to have 2 people who would come and listen to what the meetings were about, and they even came to the city council meeting, and they were Ralph Morris and Dutch Lose. Probably none of you know those 2 gentlemen. Ralph was the president of the unions at John Morrell, and Dutch was an interesting person that I got to know, even though he had some mobility problems. He had suffered these or acquired these by being in World War II and was not able to get around. But they used to come and listen and watch and nod when we did something they approved of and shook their head when we didn't and would give comment. So I've been a person who would promote public input. I've always thought that the public input is one of those things where the speakers that come to you, or some of them are negative because they didn't vote for you and they want to inform you of something they feel you should know. You cut them off and you have doubled their distaste for you. Or they might be a person who did vote for you and they come trying to feel like these are the people that I voted for and I have a right to speak to them. But if you cut them off, you've made an enemy. I've had 3 conversations in which people at a public event didn't listen to what was being said. One was when we were doing the Wall Lake cleanup. There were 5 or 6 groups who were involved. One of them was always against everything. They were loaded for bear, went to a meeting with a recording machine. I said something and they decided I was up for impeachment. One thing led to 2. They went to the state's attorney. They gave him the tape. This is what he said. When you listen to it, what I said was what I said, and they went off half-cocked without asking for clarification on what had been said. Another time I was introduced as a Minnehaha County Commissioner, and across the room someone said, "What does Minnehaha mean?" And I said, "Small laugh." Sometimes acoustics don't help you. An hour later somebody said, "Why did you say small ass?" I said, "I did not." But they didn't ask for clarification. As a teacher at USF, I was standing about where the mayor is, and there's a tiered lecture hall. Someone asked a question. I responded. Everybody went dead. I stepped out and asked, "What did you say?" They said what they said. I heard something different. We got the clarification. We got it squared away. If you don't understand something, ask, because the moment to clarify and rectify a situation isn't 2 or 3 hours later. Now, if you want to really stifle free speech, first of all, what you do is you make sure everybody has to have a utility bill from Sioux Falls, and then you make sure they have to have a Sioux Falls ID, make sure that they register 2 weeks in advance, and then make it the last piece of every meeting, put your public input, so that you can say, "Anybody wishing to speak, meeting adjourned." People like free speech. People feel that it is a sacred right that they have to be able to address their elected leaders. And we all come and do such. And if you can't take as Truman said, if you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. You have to be willing to listen to what the people say. Because most of the time, the people who are out here are either hired by the city, or they have a piece of information, or they have something on the agenda that they're here to direct. The people who come with any regularity are the watchdogs, cats, whatever else, and they want to be able to feel that you are doing the job that you were elected to do. Excuse me, but I'm getting into the Bernie thing. Anyhow, remember, I was looking for some quotes, and one of the things that astounded me, supposedly, one thing that I could agree with when Jesse Ventura said, "Learn from history or you're doomed to repeat it." And we all know that Jesse Ventura is a sage seer and a philosopher of great renown. Thank you very much.
Ms. Colby, thank you very much. Folks, welcome.
Greetings. My name is David Zokaitis. Now, the last time I was here, after the meeting, talking about gay chickens and gay dogs and stuff, somebody came up to me and told me that I was a colorful individual and I should come back next time with a Hawaiian shirt on. So I kind of thought that was a good idea. Came back with an Hawaiian shirt because I like color. Anyway, I have an interest in communication between government and citizens. And we all do, that's why we're here. But I have a simple recommendation that would allow for improved communication. The meeting is all well and good and public input is all well and good, but for me, the most valuable part of the whole evening is the few minutes I get after the meeting to actually have a real conversation with a council member. I think that is the most beneficial part of the whole show. But my ability to do so is kind of squished due to time constraints frequently. The city clerk wants to go home, wants to get everybody out the door. Well, I can see why, but I think if we could make a general rule of thumb that the building is available for conversation for maybe half an hour after the meeting, I think that would be tremendously valuable, at least valuable to the people who want to carry on the conversation. I don't think it would cost a whole lot, a little bit of extra time. The lights don't cost much, but it would be a valuable way to improve communication between government and citizens. And with that, have a good evening.
Welcome.
Hello, my name is Mary Fleming from Sioux Falls. My issue concerns a problem I have seen with the ongoing construction of the Indoor Aquatic Center. I work at least 4 nights a week, including weekends. My drive home takes me to Western between 22nd and 26th, which means I am driving by the construction site of the pool. Imagine my disbelief and frustration when between 11:30 p.m. and 12 a.m., I come upon the site lit up as if a large UFO has landed. It appears as if every light in the building is turned on, and these are huge hanging lights shining brightly. I'm wondering what the cost of the electricity burning these lights must be. What could the monthly bill be for such a nightly display? Next, I wonder, why are these lights even on? How much have the city taxpayers spent so far in this outrageous and unnecessary expense? I wanted to make the city council aware of this situation, and hopefully some action will be taken, and someone will, as my parents used to say, turn off the lights. Thank you.
Mary, thank you as well.
Tim Stanga, Sioux Falls. I had some residents of Sioux Falls contact me. They've had some problems with neighbors on yard waste, cars in the driveways, cars sitting beside garages. I give them phone numbers to call, and they call them and they say, well, you got to call this guy. Well, then they call that guy, and then they got to call this guy. I guess my question is do we have one person that we got to call to be able to get houses cleaned up? I told them, I said it should be one phone call, and it should be able to give the complaint, and then they should come out and look at it. That's the way it normally is. I explained it to them, but they told me that no, we've got to make several phone calls, and we still have not got it resolved because the person we call says we got to call this person and this person. I don't know what's going on. The other thing is I wanted to bring up the ambulance issue. Just because one ambulance is more expensive than the other ones that have bid on the ambulance doesn't mean that an ambulance service is not going to be able to give quality or better service than what we have. And I believe that what we have now is not up to standard, because when we didn't have these people and the other ambulance service was in there, never did hear that an ambulance never went to a call. Even the citizens of Sioux Falls voice their opinion on that. I talked to a lot of people during the day, and they even asked that same question, so I think it's something we got to look into. Another issue was I expect to be criticized when I come up here, because there's things that I say, there's things that I do that a lot of people don't like, which is fine. I still put my pants on the same way you guys do. I throw my shoes on the same too. But when it comes down to when we start criticizing, when we have people that are criticizing some of the city council, either on the radio or in front of a forum, that's wrong. And I think they're owed an apology, because these city councilors are doing their job. They were hired by the citizens of Sioux Falls to do a job. Now, whether we look at it as a team or whatever, no, these people were hired by the citizens of Sioux Falls. It's not a team. It might be a team effort, but these people are hired by the citizens of Sioux Falls, and I think that should be respected. You know, a lot of things were said the other time, but when things were voted on, it wasn't passed by the last city council. It was passed by the mayor. It was a 4-4 vote. Manager at risk. It was a 4-4 vote, and the mayor brought it through. So I just want people out here to realize that it wasn't the last city council that voted on it. Another thing I want to just tell the citizens of Sioux Falls, watch what goes on tonight. Watch who comes up and talks. Just watch what's going on. I noticed that the newspaper even came out and talked about the trio of the rubber stampers. they're starting to realize it now too. The citizens realize it too, and I think things have to change here. We have to start working as citizens of Sioux Falls and be there for all citizens of Sioux Falls, not special people. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Well, folks, thank you very much for your comments. We appreciate that, and we'll now move to item number 25.
Item 25 is a new 2016 retail wine license for Mama G Rest and Bar LLC, Mama G Rest and Bar 125 West 10th Street, CUP not required. Item 26 is a new 2016-17 retail malt beverage license for Mama G Rest and Bar LLC, Mama G Rest and Bar 125 West 10th Street, CUP not required. Item 27 is a new 2016-17 retail malt beverage license for Fiero LLC, Fiero Pizza, 3101 West 41st Street, Suite 107, with conditional use permit 4864-2016 being approved on July 6, 2016. Item 28, new 2016-17 retail malt beverage license for SRS Incorporated Connections Plus, 5415 West 41st Street with conditional use permit 4866-2016 being approved on July 6, 2016. Item 29, request to include video lottery terminals with the new 2016-17 retail malt beverage license for SRS Incorporated Connections Plus, 5415 West 41st Street. Item 30, new 2016 retail wine license for Tri-State Gaming Jokers 35005 West 12th Street. Item 31, transfer of 2016 retail liquor license including Sunday sales certificate and video lottery terminals from LCU Incorporated Little Coalinga, 114 North Indiana Avenue, to Taylor Ventures Incorporated Bubba J's, 114 North Indiana Avenue, CUP not required. Item 32, transfer of 2016 retail wine license from Amavo LLC, Amavo Boutique, 4807 South Louise Avenue, to Amavo LLC, Amavo Boutique, 5015 Southwestern Avenue, Suite 260, with conditional use permit 4865-2016 being approved on July 6, 2016. Item 33, special one-day malt beverage license for Nos Terrace LLC MB Haskett to be operated at the 8th and Railroad Shopping Center parking lot, 401 East 8th Street for live art and music festivals on August 19th and September 17th, 2016. Item 34 is a special one-day malt beverage license for Susan G. Coleman, South Dakota, to be operated at Falls Park, 131 East Falls Park Drive for the Race for the Cure on September 25th, 2016. Item 35, special one-day malt beverage license for Hydra Beer LLC to be operated in their parking lot located at 2425 South Shirley Avenue for a special event on August 5th, 2016.
Thank you very much. Welcome.
Good evening, Jamie Palmer with licensing. Item 25 and 26 are requests for a new restaurant that will be in town here. The applicants are present if you have questions for them. Item 27 is a request for a malt beverage license at a second location for the Fiera Pizza. Items 28 and 29 are for a new casino. It's the malt beverage with the video lottery terminals. Item 30 is a request to add wine. This applicant currently holds a malt beverage license at this particular casino. Item 31 is a transfer due to a change in ownership. Item 32 is a transfer due to a change in location. And items 33 through 35 are all special one-day requests.
Thank you, Jamie. Yes, Councilor Erickson.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I just want to disclose to the council that on items 28 and 29, I did discuss with the applicants very briefly just the history of what happened with some of the other remodels that have happened with casinos and kind of the expectations that this council and previous council has set forward. So I just need to disclose that. I appreciate their proactive approach and continuing the dialogue in regards to their business.
Councilor, thank you. Councilor Chair Rolfing.
Yes, Councilor Erickson, could you enlighten us a little bit about what they said on compliance with the walls and things like that?
Yes, thank you. Really what the conversation was about with the previous casino that was constructed, not these owners, the one on the east side of town, how the wall was put down the middle. We discussed that, the intent of why having that wall there. And we also discussed a lot about smoking. I asked if they were planning on having a smoke shop which is an actual smoke shop located in the facility, and they said no. I asked if they were planning on having a smoking patio, eventually maybe at some time, but that was not even decided upon. It was really the intent of talking about the inside structure of the building, and it was just very brief and generic. Truly, I feel like the reason the conversation took place is they want to make sure that they knew the expectations and that they were following the rules, and I felt that there was no additional information. So, and I, like I said, I appreciate the proactive approach, and also offered to bring in a few others in the industry to talk with the Department of Revenue as we move the conversations forward and just kind of sorting out some of these issues, and they did agree to that as well, so I appreciate that.
Councilor, thank you. Would anybody be willing to make a motion to approve?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I just have one more
No,
question.
Councilor, go right ahead,
Please. Item number 34, Jamie. I spent Saturday evening with a ride along with the Sioux Falls Police Department downtown, and there was one of the issues that we kind of came up with was making sure people understood where they needed to be with their alcohol, and it wasn't just a free-for-all where we allow people to wander. So I'm concerned about the park and how they plan to make sure that what specific areas in the park they're allowed to have alcohol and that. So I don't know if that's a question directly for you or for the applicant of how they plan to do that. And then I guess maybe the part for you is how much of the park can they use as part of this application, and where can alcohol be allowed and where won't it be allowed?
Well, yeah, I can answer part of that. Many of all of the events that are held in parks are required to go through the special events committee meetings. And I know that this particular one is due to go before them. And with that, they are required to submit a map of their event, which includes the area and where their event will occur. And I am part of that committee and go to those meetings as well. And we have a dialogue about, often their perimeter may be this big, but we suggest that their alcohol perimeter be shrunken just a little bit so that they know that the alcohol stays within their actual boundary. Different items like that. There is a police officer on that committee as well. And we dialogue about where the alcohol can and can't be, and that they're responsible to make sure that it stays within the boundary. Different items like that we do discuss with them.
Okay, kind of a follow-up, please. Do we normally allow alcohol in Falls Park? Have we banned alcohol in the park? I know some parks we do and some we don't, so I'm trying to understand where we allow a permit like this versus if someone has a cooler or is having a picnic. So
it is banned in Falls Park with the exception of the special one-day provision that allows you, the council, to approve that.
Perfect. I think that answers my question. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I move to approve items 25 through 35.
Second.
Thank you. Councilor Erickson's made a motion to approve these items, seconded by Councilor Staley. Good discussion. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Thank you. Item 36.
Item 36, sustain or override the mayor's veto of ordinance number 8316, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, the city, repealing ordinance number 3616, authorizing the issuance of its sales tax revenue bonds and other actions related thereto. Action taken at the City Council meeting on Tuesday, July 19th, 2016. A motion was made by Councilmember Greg Neitzert and seconded by Councilmember Michelle Erpenbach to adopt said ordinance number 8316. Vote to adopt. Roll call. Yeses: Pat Starr, Teresa Staley, Christine M. Erickson, Greg Neitzert, Marshall Selberg, 5. Noes: Michelle Erpenbach, Rick Kiley, Rex Rolfing, 3. Motion passed. Pursuant to the City Charter, Section 3.04, Mayor Mike T. Huther vetoed said ordinance number 8316.
Thank you very much. I'm now going to try to give you some idea of what's going to transpire next. I've received some coaching from City Attorney David Fifley, who's to my left. And David, if I miss anything, you just let me know. Councilors and to the people of Sioux Falls, here's what will happen. It has been read. Now what will happen, I'm going to have the City Attorney provide the councilors with a to try to explain the voting procedure. Okay, we'll do that. Then, this is my first veto. I will briefly outline the reason for my veto. It will be brief. Then, councilors, we're going to go to public input, and that's folks where you'll have an opportunity to engage the council on this particular topic. And then after that is completed, then it goes to the council. The councilors from the prevailing side, and that was those who voted yes to adopt ordinance number 8316. If one of them so chooses, they would make another motion to approve ordinance number 8316. And then, of course, there would be a second to that if somebody deemed fit. Then there will be debate and dialogue amongst the council, okay? And then when that's completed, there will be a vote, and then we'll see how that goes, and then we'll go to item number 37. David, does that sound fair? Sounds fair? Point of order. Yes, Council Chair Rolfing.
I'm sorry. Seems to me that we should have a motion to approve, because if there's not a second, there's no reason to go ahead with any of what you just said.
Right,
so I would think that would be first on the agenda, but it's not. Okay, I'm being, that's fine.
Thank you. I'm learning too.
Okay.
But thank you very much, Council Chair Rolfing. Appreciate that. So first, I'm going to ask David to provide an explanation of the voting procedure, if that'd be appropriate. David?
Thank you, Mayor. The charter requires that if an ordinance or a resolution is vetoed by the mayor, that then the item is considered at the next regular meeting of the City Council, and that is this meeting. Any ordinance requires ordinarily 5 affirmative votes of the council. However, when an ordinance is vetoed, it takes 6 votes of the council to affirm the ordinance in order to what they would say is override the veto.
David, thank you. And councilors and to the people of Sioux Falls, this is my first veto. I will be brief. I'll just explain why I made the veto decision. And when it comes to the design and construction of a new Sioux Falls administration building, my points are as follows. Our city is growing, and with it comes a demand for additional services and employees. The need is real and corroborated by independent experts. Due diligence in collaboration with the City Council has been going on for at least a decade. The investment makes financial sense now and in the future. The building will create a work environment that will improve the collaboration, the productivity, and the morale of city employees. The time to build the new building is now. As we have a locked-in price, interest rates are very low, and continued leasing will only add to the expense with no real return. The building will accommodate growth for the next 50 years, and it will be built to last for at least 100 years. The investment will dramatically enhance Van Epps Park possibilities and will create economic development opportunities in the surrounding area. The site is located in an established cluster of other city-owned buildings and is very near Minnehaha County facilities as well, creating a local government services corridor for the efficient delivery of government services to the local taxpayers. There's more that I shared with the City Council in a very, very long document. I'm not going to go through that. I don't think that's necessary, but I wanted to give just a brief explanation on why I chose to veto the work of the council at this particular time. Councilors, thank you for that opportunity to engage you and the people of Sioux Falls. Now, welcome, folks. I know there's some folks who wanted to talk about this topic with the council as well. This is that opportunity to do that. Really, same rules apply. We'd ask you to state your name, please. Keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. There is one other thing that takes place in a topic like this. The council, over the years, They have coached me, and they've tried to help the citizens of Sioux Falls understand that repeating the same comment over and over again, certainly understand that some folks agree with the same comments. That's fair. But for the purposes of the meeting and the purposes of the council, they would ask that your comments be unique, if at all possible. And with that in mind, I'll do my best to try to capture those comments as the public is coming forth, and then we'll go from there. So welcome. Good to have you here. Folks, Roger.
Good evening. Good evening. I'm Jerry Fromm. I'm with Henry Carlson Company. In the last few weeks, there's been a lot of discussion about what is the cost of this building, what is the cost per square foot of this proposed city admin building. And I hope tonight that I can try to set the record straight and try to perhaps disband some of the rumors that are going around. People in my industry have called me and asked me, how can this building cost $400 per square foot or $500 per square foot? And I just want to very briefly try to the best of my ability, describe what the cost per square foot is per the estimates that we've prepared for the city. The total building size, as we've discussed, is 80,000 square feet. That includes the lower level, first floor, second floor, a third floor that would remain a shell, and provisions for a fourth floor. So that's how we come to 80,000 square feet. I've broke out the cost of the project in the simplest terms that I can. The site work, which includes improvements to Van Epps Park and Dakota Avenue along the property front of the project, is about $15 per square foot. That's the $1.2 million divided by 80,000 square feet, the total square footage of the building. The lower level of the building, which is about 20,000 square feet, it includes 39 parking stalls and about 8,000 square feet of other items, storage, mechanical and electrical space, and locker rooms. These areas are areas that are essential to support the building. So it's not as simple as saying, let's get rid of the parking and not have a basement. There's 8,000 square feet of something else that somewhere else in the building, much more expensive space in the building that would have to be modified. So this is an integral part of the project as it's designed today. The first and second floor currently planned to be finished office space. I think that's pretty straightforward, 40,000 square feet. The $10,498,000 divided by 40,000 square feet is how we come up with the $265 per square foot of finished office space. The third floor shell, which would remain unfinished, it would be heated. There would be a minimum amount of light to meet current code, fire alarm, those types of things. And preparations for a fourth floor. That adds $165 per square foot. That is the 20,000 square feet. We're dividing the 3 million by that 20,000 square feet there. That's the investment that you're putting into this building for future growth of the third floor and of potentially a fourth floor. There's project contingency at this point. We're at schematic design, that's 7%. That's a very prudent number to be at this point in a project like this. That's how we arrive at the construction cost of $18,426,000, $233 per square foot for an institutional building designed the way this building has been designed is a very fair number, cost per square foot. There's other project costs that include design costs, FFE, and other owner costs that go into the building, and those costs would go into any project, whether it be a renovation, purchasing a building and having to fit it out with new furniture, those types of things, and paying for architect services and engineering services. So I hope that that this kind of helps clear the water on what the actual cost of this proposed project is. The total project cost is $21.9 million. Divided by 80,000 square feet is $274,000 per square foot. Thank you.
Thank you. Folks, anybody else want to engage the council? Welcome.
I'm Roger Elgersmith from Sioux Falls. I look at this and I see there's only 2 usable floors in the 300 building and 6 usable floors, which suggests it's quite a bit more space. If you get quite a bit more space for about the same money, then per square foot it's a lot cheaper. And if you get a lot more space, you can lease out some of it to current renters or lease some out to the county. And for the same cost, you get rental income to help pay off the bills. So I think fiscally it's a whole lot better to buy the bigger building, which will last you longer into the future. And this huge amount of remodeling costs, when you're making an office building into an office building, I question how much of the remodeling is needed. I've been in a few of the offices there, and there's various size offices, and you got various size departments, and a lot of them could just fit in what's there with almost no remodeling. And so I heard with a new building, you're going to have high ceilings because it impresses millennials, and they like to feel good about themselves. When I was in my 20s, we felt good about ourselves because we were good people and did a good job. You know, I was teaching adult Sunday school to people my parents and grandparents' age at 23, and it's not because the ceiling was high in church. It's because I was good at it. You know, if you want to attract arrogant people, or if you want to attract people that are into doing a good job, you don't need a high ceiling. I mean, if you can afford it, that's probably cool and nice and whatever. But also the last 2 mayors and the last 2 20-some council people have ballooned the amount of debt this city has. And we're no longer a AAA rating. We're a fairly good rating, and compared to most cities in this country, we're rather good. But comparing to others isn't what makes people great. If you just concentrate on doing as good as you can. I think this is a small enough project that if you reduce the remodel cost a little, you can just run it through the CIP, maybe take one project, move it back a year, and you don't have to add any debt. And so if this petition goes through, you could still have a building. Things in the CIP are 5 years, and these have been adjusted a little before. When I look at amount of debt, it don't look bad yet. But if you look at what other things pull Sioux Falls economy up and down, the ag economy is one of the biggest things, and that's down now. And the national economy isn't as good as here because, I mean, other cities aren't doing as good as us. They're not going to pull us up. These other influences are more likely to slow us down, and the sales tax revenue has slowed down a little this year already. In the world economy, you look at Europe, the best economy is Germany, and I just heard that Deutsche Bank is basically broke. So the world economy could pull this down too. So having more debt just because other cities have more than us doesn't mean it's safe to just add on more debt. I farmed through the farm crisis, started out thinking we can borrow a lot of money, the economy is going great, farmers will finally make as much money as other people, and then it all fell apart. So I've had experiences where it looked good, and we were good at doing good at the time. But if everything around you isn't doing as good, you can't just assume they're going to be lifting you up. So I think buying the 300 building, not raising the ceilings in it, reducing that amount of the cost of the remodel, and have a building that'll last you longer and produce rent income in the meantime is the wise choice. Thank you.
Roger, thank you. Appreciate it. Welcome.
Dan Daly, Sioux Falls. I'm concerned about the irregularities. The petition process has less than 2 weeks. The citizens are misinformed. They have not had a chance to review this. This is a tidy sum that should go to a public vote. City debt is worrisome. It's a matter of why are you rushing this through? Can't we just hold off a little longer and do some more investigation? Can't you do due process? I'm concerned there's one contractor. I'm concerned who's the landowner. This is a public project, subject to these terms. Counselors are exempt from your decision, but you're probably going to be testifying in court for years to come if you make a bad decision. Give us time. Perhaps it's necessary. I haven't done enough background because I don't have time. A third of city employees live out of town. They don't even live here. Why do they need cushy offices? If they'll move to town, we'll give them time. And then we can have a very nice city building where everyone can go. It's public property. But that's what I have to say. I feel that there's just too many irregularities. It deserves to be knocked down for the moment. It can be brought back. I'm not opposed to it. There's just too many irregularities, too many problems that will crop up later. I'd like to see competitive bids. Thank you.
Welcome.
Mayor, council, citizens. My name is Jeff Scherschlicht, a lifelong resident of Sioux Falls, property owner, business person, and been called a cheerleader for Sioux Falls. I'm proud of our community. We're progressive, we're vibrant, we're attractive because we take good care of our stuff, and we're growing. Why? Because there's been leaders like you all for many decades that have been forward-looking, that have been looking long-term, that have been progressive. We've done a great job in this community. Why? It's not an accident why we are as successful as we are, because we've looked at good long-term decisions, infrastructure decisions, airport decisions, building the right airport, the quality of our schools, the quality of our quality of life items like the pavilion, the event center. All of these things took great leaders like you that looked long-term and didn't just look at little things that just might save a few dollars right now, but looked at the long-term and made those type of investments. All of these takes money, takes planning, but also smart allocation of these resources. Sioux Falls must stay progressive. The facts, as I understand them or have read, seem to be pretty clear. They've been laid out for over a decade. The city finances, I don't profess to have any expertise in that, but I did find out that we've got a good bond rating, that our debt from a per capita basis certainly is better than many of our peers. So at the same time, I believe that making good investments long-term makes sense. So no debt is certainly a great thing, but sometimes you have to invest. I also can speak to the concept of quality, attractive office space, and that attracting quality employees. We're only as good as the people that lead this community, the people that work for our community, that work for our businesses. I find today that the key is that you do have to provide them a quality workspace, something they feel good about, that helps attract, and that also helps retain talent. And I believe that has worked for my business and many other businesses. I encourage the Sioux Falls leadership to not fall victim to political or philosophical gridlock, to not compromise, or inability to move our community forward. I'm sick and tired of the federal government and what's going on. I don't want to see that happen to us here in Sioux Falls. Sioux Falls has created a great community by always looking forward, making a commitment to quality, taking calculated risks, and staying positive. I encourage this body to not override the mayor's veto, but to move on to our numerous other challenges, to stay progressive and lead the city into the next decade on a positive and progressive note. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeff. Welcome.
Carol Flower, Sioux Falls.
Hey, Carol.
I didn't sign in ahead of time. I didn't see the list. I was born in Sioux Falls. I lived in Sioux Falls until I graduated from college, and I went away to graduate school, and then I lived in Ann Arbor, Michigan for 25 years. Then moved to Montana for a short time until my mother became ill and moved back to Sioux Falls. So this is now the beginning of my 20th year back in Sioux Falls. And so I just want to say it's been interesting coming back to Sioux Falls and seeing the changes. About 6 or 7 years ago, I had the opportunity to go to work for a short time in a small town, Pleasanton, California, on the East Bay area. I was so impressed with this town. It was such a beautiful town that when I came back, I looked on their website and I wanted to find a little bit more about them. And what I read just really astonished me, because what they said at that time was, this is a community that believed in certain principles. They had about 12 principles. They promoted these in the schools. They promoted them in the community. Every city council meeting started with a discussion of how to implement whatever the principle happened to be. They were principles of integrity, honesty, compassion, caring. And when I read further, I was really astonished by one sentence that they had, and they said, when there is a need in this community, we find a way to make it taken care of. And I was so impressed with that. And this past May, I had an opportunity to go back to California and work. And so my brother and I drove over to this community, and I said, I want to see this place again. I was so impressed with it. And again, the minute I got there, I just had this overwhelming feeling that this is a community that cares about the people in the community. And it was interesting because my brother, who lives in Palo Alto, got the same feeling, so much so that after I left California, he went back just to confirm his feelings. Now, why am I bringing this up? I'm bringing this up because I am not a political person, but once in a while when there's an issue that I'm interested in, and there's an issue that's contested, an issue that's a big spending issue, I've come to meetings and I get the feeling that very often the city council really, they listen, but they ignore what people are saying to them. And this is borne out to me over the 20 years I've been here by the number of petition drives that have been done by people wanting to make their voices heard in this community. Now, this is this building is a contentious issue, apparently. It's a costly issue. The way it's going to be paid for apparently is an issue. And what I would like to ask the council, and this is a question, a rhetorical question, granted, but if you really truly want to know what the people in Sioux Falls want in this regard, why not have them vote on it? And so I just respectfully submit to you that if you really won't care about what people want, that this is a way to do it. Thank you.
Carol, thank you very much. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Jim Entman, and I also am a citizen and a business owner here in Sioux Falls, and by the way, a former city councilman here in Sioux Falls. It really was an honor and a privilege to serve the citizens of Sioux Falls by serving on the city council. And I do know that there are a lot of tough decisions that are made, but at the end of the day, we make those decisions with the facts that we have, that are provided to us by the teams that we have, our own interest in the projects, the programs, and at the end of the day, we do have to draw a line in the sand and make a decision. That's what we're hired to do. If it was so easy as to put every task to a vote, there would be no need for a city council, and everybody would be clamoring to have this position that you all hold, that I really think was one of the best things that I ever did in my life. That being said, Mayor Huther and City Council, I would like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to the issues at hand. You know, does the city build a new administration building? And where should it go? If I remember correctly, shortly after the council members, Erpenbach, and Rolfing and Aguilar and I were elected, Mayor Huther started a space needs assessment of city facilities similar to the study Mayor Munson did during his administration, the previous administration. 2 different mayors and 2 separate space need assessments came to the same conclusion. Our city needs additional space to meet the needs of our citizens today and for years to come. In my business, we call this customer service. In the 41 years that I have been in business, I've had to make the decision to build on 5 different occasions. In every case, it was to meet the growing demands of my customers, to provide them with more services and more products, and helpfully create what we call customers for life. Sometimes we did not need to add employees, but just needed more room, and sometimes, because our business was growing, we needed to meet the demands and we needed to meet the customers. We had to add additional staff. Every time I built, I had to consider a number of things. And I believe the city has to consider those things too, and they have considered those. If I build a new facility, where is the best place to build it? To best serve my customers, will I need to buy the land? What size building do I need and what amenities do I need so my teams can do their jobs? And what about the customer experience, our citizen experience? What can I afford and how do I finance a project? Contrary to what a lot of you might think, we in business very seldom have the cash to build a building or do remodeling, and we also have to go out and seek funding in order to do this. What I have learned is that you need a good group of advisors in order to help you make these decisions. Because in my world, I sell motorcycles, right? That's what I'm at. It's about customer service. I don't build buildings. I don't worry about financing as far as paying. Well, I do worry about paying for the buildings because ultimately we all have to. But that's why you have good partners. And what I mean by that is that you do need to have good partners and good advisors. In business, you need to have a great business banker that understands you and appreciates your credibility and understands what their needs are to secure their money. You have to have a good accounting team. You know, they need to help build a performance that's going to show us how we're going to pay for the building, how much time it takes, and they have to help us identify what the ROI is, what our return on investment is for that property, and how long is it going to take to pay for it. You also need a design firm and a builder that you can trust. And you have to have a great attorney to help with contracts and to help navigate, believe it or not, municipal requirements and issues that come up in dealing with any city or any government entity. So we do create teams, and I believe, Mayor, that I applaud you, and I applaud the team that you have put together, including the consultants, city councilors that served on the respective committees and helped in this process, and of course our city employees. By the way, a majority of our city employees are citizens of Sioux Falls, and they want the best for our city also. You had a great team, you put together a great team, and again, I was really hoping in the back of my mind that you would veto the decision that came down and did it. I do believe, like Jeff does, that now is the time. We need to be progressive. You had the team put together. You had great financing sources. You figured out a way of paying for it. You had people that made the assessments. It was great.
Thank you very much.
Really? Already?
Sorry.
Oh, I don't own these microphones, do I, Mayor?
Counselor, thank you, though. Welcome.
For the record, George Hahn, lifelong resident of Sioux Falls. I can't add an awful lot to what both Jeff and Jim have said quite eloquently. Jeff, you stole some of my lines, man. We need the government corridor. We need the space. There's never been a question about that. Some of these other superfluous issues are just that. They're superfluous. They should not be the reasons this project is killed. We need quality office space. I've had the luxury of good office space for 20 years. For the previous 20 years, I don't know how I made it through. And Michelle, you alluded to being in a cube farm for 20 years. Would you wish that on any city employee? Marshall, you've had very good office space, and your husband has too. We all happen to be in the real estate business. You're not going to get employees' satisfaction if you have crappy office space. And some of the space right now that city employees are in, I wouldn't office there. I simply wouldn't. And you're not going to expect the current generation to continue with that, nor subsequent generations to put up with that. We also need to have space that is conducive to hiring those who are disabled. We right now don't have a lot of ADA capacity in many respects to hire disabled veterans, and we need to start putting a push on that. We owe that to our veterans in every conceivable respect. We've got 4 new people on the council. A lot of tough issues have come up in the first couple of months. I respect that. But if you'd run on a platform of, oh, I'm going to be a speed bumper, I'm going to vote this down, or I'm going to be a beginner, if that had been your platform, none of you would have been elected. I think everybody's got to pull together for what is beneficial for the community today, tomorrow, and 20 years from now, when every city employee has been replaced by somebody younger, expecting more out of their jobs, and who can be retained with pride and dignity. I think that's something we've got to emphasize across the board, that not just here in the council, but in every office and city hall, pride and dignity are a part of the workplace, and the workplace needs to be conducive to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tron. Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Okay, I read this week that people...
If I, just your name, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Linda Nielsen.
Thank you, Linda. Appreciate it.
East Side. I read this week that people can always be brought to the bidding of their leaders. That's easy. All you have to do is convince them that they're being attacked. That was a quote from Herman Goering, about 1930 or somewhere in that neighborhood. I believe that some of our leaders are trying to convince us that we are being attacked by wanting something better for the city administration building. Like I heard before, that you want good employees, you have good buildings to put them into. You don't want to put them in the basement and expect them to stay. Therefore, I feel that we're being driven by fear that the government's attacking us, and that the people want things. They don't want to be bothered with tickets, permits, licenses, and fines, city attorneys. They don't want to be bothered by these things. We want them scattered all over the city in various different buildings. So when you come and you look for somebody, you can say, oh, well, yeah, you got to go down here and around the corner and over there and across the street and up the hall. Why? We need it in one building where if you have a problem, you can go in, and you're in the wrong room, they'll send you to the right room. You don't have to go all over town to find it. I also liken it to a family that lives in a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment, and their family's growing. As their family grows, they have an option. They can rent their kids out to 3 other apartments, maybe in 3 different buildings, or they can take a leap of faith and buy a house and live in it and grow and continue to expand. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Thank you. Welcome.
Scott Harrisman, Sioux Falls. I'd have to say that I agree with Jim Entenman for once. He said that you are elected to lead. I thought you guys did that. You voted 5-3 that you wanted to stop the bonding. You did that. Then the mayor vetoed it. The 2 times before that it was voted, it was a tie vote. He broke the tie. I think you led. But I have to disagree with Mr. Entenman. There's no comparison between owning a motorcycle dealership and running a city. And I think that we need to take a look at the way we look at being elected officials. The mayor said in his press conference when he did the veto that we are elected to get things done. I hope that when I vote for someone, that isn't their objective. Your objective is to serve and to make good decisions. The 5 counselors that voted to stop this bond, and Christine was very clear, are not against the city administration building at all. They want options. They want it to be more prudent, more fiscally responsible. That's what they want. And coming up here and saying that they're against it, that is not the case at all. I hope our city employees actually have good work environment, because that makes them better city employees. So let's be clear about that. But to say to get things done is a very jaded view of being an elected official. We elect you to serve us, which can mean stopping projects that we don't need. $25 million buildings that aren't even finished. I can't even imagine the millions of dollars this building would cost us down the road when we start having to add to it, if we needed to. You were elected to sometimes put the brakes on. And as I had brought up before, and as a caller did on the Greg Belford show lately to the mayor, if this project was talked about for so long and so important, why did we build a $100 million event center and a $25 million aquatic center before we built this building? We seemed to didn't care. We didn't care about city employees at that point. All we cared about was ourselves. We were very selfish to say that we're going to build an entertainment complex and a pool. Kind of selfish. How did the city employees feel about that? And now all of a sudden we say, well, since we got what we wanted, now we're concerned about you. And by the way, we got to borrow the money to do it. I also find it ironic that the three counselors who voted against this are the three that I often hear from many people never return phone calls or emails. The mayor said the other day that he had never heard of this petition drive. Been living under a rock? It's been on every single TV station and the newspaper. And then he said, talk to Rex, talk to Kylie, talk to Michelle. They didn't return phone calls to 2 different TV stations. The 5 counselors who voted this down and want options, listen to the constituents. They listened. They're doing their job. They voted to stop this. The 3 others and the mayor are not listening. Citizens don't want this. They want us to look at other options. Remodeling existing buildings, buying a used building. There's all kinds of things we could do and save millions and millions of dollars. And as Roger brought up, you could take money out of the CIP each year to remodel stuff in the year. So please, I'm hoping one of the 3 of you change your vote tonight. That's probably not going to happen, but I hope you do, and I hope you put this to rest so we don't have to go through an election and we could save the taxpayers even more money. Thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome. I'm James Eisbrand, Sioux Falls City resident. Thank you to the council for this time to speak to you tonight. This is the first time I've been here since the 4 new council members got elected, so congratulations. Thanks for your service. And I'm here to support the mayor's veto because as a citizen, like tonight, the mayor always talked about there's city business that sometimes can be boring. I think this issue, to me, as a citizen, is boring. It should just be, it's been looked at. You've all had a chance to make your decision. I'm not going to change anybody's vote tonight, but I think that, I've had the privilege of, since day one when Gary Hansen dropped the gavel, I remember being over in City Hall when they had the council meetings there, and I've seen the city of Sioux Falls grow. I'm 54. I just turned 54 on Saturday, and my golf partner says, hey, Jim, don't feel bad about getting old. 6 years from now, we can hit from the senior box tees. So I was like, yeah, like tonight I wore my best golf shirt. I don't own a Hawaiian shirt, but I thought, I should be honored to be here and speak to you about, all the same things that we've all talked about tonight. I went to a function Saturday with the former mayor, and he told me what he thought about it. I'm not going to say what he said, but I talked to a former council member, and I can at least give you a hint. Pat Starr took his spot. They all said the same things. It's needed. This needs to happen. Yeah, we don't agree on where. Yeah, it would be great to have a corridor down Dakota Avenue because we know the Minnehaha County Courthouse is there. I don't know what you're going to do about that building in between because it's grandfathered in, which I don't understand about that grandfathering rule. That makes life interesting when you're forward thinking about building that corridor. But I mean, there's so many positives about what everybody agrees on. We need the office space for these workers. And yes, it has to be funded. Yeah, it's not perfect, but you know, if you look at it, all the positives of doing it now, you know, it's a presidential election year. We don't know what the economy is going to do. Come November, we don't know. You know, the world's a interesting place these days economically. Like the one gentleman said, farm economy, there's all these things that can happen that can change the plans that the mayor and the staff have put forward today. But I think the first time he's ever vetoed, that's what got my attention. It's like, why did the mayor veto this? It's like, well, it's an important issue. To me, it's just one of those, it's a big ticket item, but it's one of those boring, necessary things, infrastructure, and it would be a privilege for the city workers to have this new building. There's room for expansion. I don't agree with the other gentleman talking about the 300 building lasting longer. I would think that Henry Carlson could build a better building that would last longer than the 300 building that's been there for a while. I mean, there's just all these positives that seem to outweigh the negatives for trying to change the veto. So I would urge the council members tonight, when you vote on this, vote with reason, your heart, and what us people expect of you. I went to this national night out in my neighborhood at 3rd and Holbrook. That's Councilman Greg Neitzert's district. It was great to see the people there, and I talked to some people there. They didn't even care about what you guys were going to vote about tonight. They didn't care. So these people saying that they're all signing up for this petition, you know, my wife reads South Dakota. She told me about it. I'm like, so I don't think we need to have a petition for every vote. I know it's a big ticket item, but I think you should move forward and be progressive like the two businessmen who I respect, the former councilman Jim Entenman and Serslick from the building that he owns downtown. These guys know. Mayor Heuther knows. He's had a professional staff. Mayor Munson had the same kind of meeting with experts on what we need to do. So let's just do it. Yeah, it's a hard decision. I respect you for making that decision. I respect you for, you know, slowing it down and taking a time out. But tonight it's time to not override the veto, move forward, because the citizens I talked to and the people that I represent, just from speaking to them tonight, didn't feel some of the way the other people testified. So I appreciate your time and good luck with your vote.
Thank you, James. Appreciate that. Mr. Dennison, I will let you know that I did tell the people of Sioux Falls and the people in this room in the beginning of the meeting that if you're going to discuss this potential topic, to wait until the end. You made the decision to do it at the beginning. I understand that. You spoke 4 minutes, so with that in mind, we will allow you to speak again, but you've got a minute. Go ahead,
I can buzz through it pretty fast, but by the same token, I was discussing a petition drive. I was not talking about your veto. I never mentioned your veto once.
Mr. Dennison.
And so what I'm doing is now going to just give some impressions of what some people have talked about. Because I've probably talked to more people in Sioux Falls about this project than anyone. And so you can shut the speaker off on me at any time you want, and that's fine. But the things I've learned in the past few days talking with hundreds of people, the growth of government is not a justifiable excuse for this project. The current design is not a customer service friendly building. Collaboration with only city employees, ignoring the similar collaboration needs of the county and state is a shame. The swamp, calling that basement room the swamp, is a degrading term that any HR pro I've ever worked with would find disgusting. Why not encourage a multi-story business building in that land so it can pay taxes to pay for government? Figure out a way to work with counties. The $275 per square foot really needs to add the value of the land at about $40 per square foot or more, or about $315. The people signing petitions are of every economic group and part of town, and no part of this is to discourage growth. The Cube Farm is what the current city is planning to build.
Mr. Dennison.
Over a decade,
Mr. Dennison, thank you,
over
sir.
a decade story is bogus. The land was purchased in 2007 when the post office project failed. In 2014 election, Mr. Mayor, you said there was no need for more office space.
Mr. Dennison.
And the last point is, what was magical about in 2015 to drop this building on a previous council without warning? Thank you.
Councilors, I did my best. Sorry. hope you understand. I tried. Thank you. Welcome. Welcome.
Thank you. Sioux Falls. I also am going out taking signatures. The only time somebody says that they can't sign the petition is because they're not a registered voter. I'm not having problems getting signatures. I'm also talking to a lot of people that are struggling in town. The elderly people are having problems in town. They're having problems buying food. They're having problems paying their rent because it goes up every year because of taxes. The taxes go up, the landlord raises the rent. Water goes up, electricity goes up, phone bill goes up, nothing goes down. Social Security has not had a raise for, I think, 2 to 3 years. These people are struggling in this town. When we come out and we say, well, we built the pavilion, we made that big jump, but we subsidize it $1.3 million. That's put on the citizens of Sioux Falls. The swimming pool is going to have a subsidy. We say $500,000, but it could be $1 million, it could be $2 million, who knows? We look at the event center, we say it's making money, but what is the arena making? That's the question. A lot of people ask that question. They're not saying that we don't need an administrative building. It says that we got to be a little bit more, to look at things a little different. The good part about it is everybody, again, we put our pants on, we put our shoes on the same. We can sit and smile all we want. But again, the city council is here for the citizens of Sioux Falls. And like I say, I've never been turned down on somebody signing this petition, other than they're not registered to vote. And a lot of people say, well, I really don't want to vote because government's crooked. Well, I believe that too. Out of Washington and just looking what goes on here, it is crooked. And I expect people to come in, business people to come in and say how great things are and everything, which it might be great for them. People with money, it's great for them because they have the money to invest. But when you have people that are suffering outside this building, we pushed all the people that, homeless people to the east side. Those people are suffering. What have we done for them? We keep pushing them and pushing them and pushing them. Pretty soon we're not going to be able to push them too much further, otherwise they're going to be in the river. But we got to start thinking about everybody in this town. We got to think about the people that are suffering in this town, and we got to get things in order.
Thank you. Folks, sir, and please come forward. Please come forward. I just want to let you know that we've had a really good dialogue. We started about 7:57. And, sir, I'm definitely going to let you speak, so thank you. I just want to give you kind of a summary of where we're at so far, okay? We've had 12 different speakers. It looks like it's about, 6. I didn't poll these folks, so I don't know how they'd vote. But just from listening to their comments, it was like there was kind of 6 for and 6 against. Try to give you some understanding of what we've heard so far. And I'm really proud of the speakers because I think they've done a good job giving us unique comments, okay? So just let me give you a flavor, sir, and again, coming back. Why don't I start with those who are against the building proceeding? We could move into an existing business as is, for example, the 300 building, for example. The high ceilings, for example, are not important to, employees. To talk about too much debt, or we shouldn't add additional debt. The world and national economy is struggling right now, and that, we should pay attention to the agriculture economy here in South Dakota because it makes a big impact here on Sioux Falls. Discussion about a need for a vote. Folks are not opposed to doing a vote and are signing petitions.
time needed for more due diligence. There was a comment made that city employees that don't live here don't need good work environments. We should be more prudent, more fiscally responsible. Sometimes putting the brakes on is a good thing. The councilors that support the building and the mayor, they're not listening to the citizens. Growth of government is not justifiable. The design is not good of the proposed building. We should find a way to generate rent from a building that we either lease or build. The cost per square foot, as relayed by the administration, is not reasonable. Citizen expenses are going up. We should look at those things that we're subsidizing elsewhere in government, because ultimately it's the citizens that are impacted. And there's other priorities, such as homelessness that's out there and things like that. Those that were in favor of building the new building or the administration building, they've had comments like this. The cost per square foot is reasonable and fair. There was this actual dollar amount given tonight by one of the citizens. We need to continue to be forward-thinking, be progressive, meeting long-terms, doing long-term investing is good for the city. Debt is reasonable here in the city of Sioux Falls, and we've got a good bond rating. It will attract employees, and we need to provide a good quality workplace for our people. Don't follow the lead of federal government and the stuff going on there, and stay positive, here in Sioux Falls. Let's get this done and then move on to other challenges that the city faces. When there's a need in the community, we should tackle it. There was talk about, the counselors and how counselors are hired or elected to make tough decisions. Talk about needing additional space. We've needed it before and we need it now. It'll be a customer service improvement and improve the citizen experience. The team that put together this proposal that we've been talking about was solid. We need a government corridor. Some of the existing space for our city employees are unsuitable. And then there was talk about creating a one-stop shop to get government service versus going all over town. And then finally, hey, nothing's perfect, but the positives outweigh the negatives on this particular case. So again, proud of you folks. You've done a really good job giving us all unique perspective. And so welcome, sir.
John Beasley, Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
And sir, your first name?
John.
John. Thank you, John. Welcome.
And speaking of Mayor Munson, I worked at Longfellow for 32 years and took him downstairs and showed him the building. And this was no mansion, Longfellow School. It's not a school no more. I was the last janitor in that building. And I took him downstairs and to my office area, and he said, this building here is going to last for a long time. You could see the old stone in the cement around it, and that's what the tunnels look like down below. And I'm 65 years old. My wife's 74. And we're on Social Security. And we have not been to your event center. And I don't think a whale will fit in the aquatic center. So I probably won't be there. And, I probably will never set a foot in that building that you're going to want to build. And I'm sorry. But I think the streets need to be done more, because I deliver pizza part-time. And I've been on a lot of streets that are just tremendous. And I'll give you one street, Geneva. Genevine, whatever, it's a block off Bonson. That was a mess this spring. I haven't been on it lately because nobody's ordered pizza. Or the people that did order, they don't live there no more. And so I don't know. But, you know, the streets, I think, need to be more done and taken care of better than building a brand new building.
John, thank you very much for coming tonight. Appreciate it. Well, folks, thank you. Very, very good dialogue. Really appreciate it. It's been very, very productive. And thanks for being so professional, too. I really appreciate it. Council,
Mr.
now,
Mayor.
yes, Councilor Erickson.
Make a motion to approve ordinance number 83-16.
Second. Nicer.
Councilor Erickson's made a motion to adopt ordinance number 8316, seconded by Councilor Neitzert. Councilor Erickson.
Thank you. You know, I know we've been talking about this for some time. Tonight, I certainly know what will happen tonight. I know the outcome. I think we all do. That's what you do when you do your homework. So I'm not going to waste a lot of time. Unfortunately, you know, we've heard a lot about taking hard votes. I've been in this gig in the state level and the city level. I've made a lot of hard votes. I've had to look people in the face and vote a different way than what they wanted me to. So I know what it takes to make a hard vote. A hard vote to one person and a hard vote to somebody else are two entirely different things. I've stayed firm in my position throughout this time. We have heard that this has not been, we've seen that this has not been a slam dunk deal. This hasn't been a 7-1 vote, an 8-0 vote. It has not had consensus. It's had two mayor tie-breaking votes. It's now had the mayor's veto. The intent with pausing this project and having the new council vote on it was twofold. One, I wanted to make sure that the new council had the opportunity to vote on this because it will tie our hands for years to come and councilors' hands for years to come with budgetary restraints. There will be consequences that come along with the budgeting timeframe. So I wanted to make sure that those involved had the ability to have a voice in that since it happened so close to the new election. It didn't happen 8 months ago, 9 months ago. It was so close to the election timeframe. So there was intent with that too. The other intent was to really start over with all parties around the table so we could have collaboration from the start and not from a project already off and gone from the train station. It's not going to happen. I understand that. I respect the process. I am disappointed, but that's the way that this works. I do appreciate all the input and all the vetting that has taken place over the last couple of years. You know, we hear a lot about numbers. We hear about the truth of the numbers and all of these things. We can all talk about numbers that work in our favor here and there. And I do believe there's been misinformation along the ways on all sides. But I'm happy that the effort was tried. I'm happy with the fact that the county, the city, and the state had the opportunity to restart a collaborative effort from the beginning to address space needs. And unfortunately, that won't take place now. But I'm hopeful that in the future, this council and councils to come will always have in mind all governmental entities when we start a project to make them the most efficient and effective for the taxpayers at the end of the day. Thank you.
Councilor Neitzert. Sir.
Okay. The vote that's going to happen tonight is unprecedented. We're about to go down a path where the executive branch bonds $25 million over the will of the legislative branch. No council has supported this project. It has survived only with 2 tie-breaking votes of the mayor and a veto of its repeal. This has not been discussed publicly for years. The first mention of needing a new building never came until April 14th, 2015. Up until then, there was no hint that we needed a new building. Because of softening sales tax revenue, the administration is, in their words, waiting on initiatives where prudent. One of the projects they have delayed is a remodel of the northwest corner of City Hall on the ground floor. If you look into that space, you'll see prime office space currently filled with junk and boxes. This remodel was budgeted for $100,000 and scheduled for this year. If the need is so urgent, why delay this project? Why would we delay a $100,000 project because it's prudent, but then go into debt $25 million to build more office space? It makes no sense. The administration is taking steps to manage with slower growth, in their words. Why in the world would we bond $25 million now? Where is the urgency? We plan to hire 6 new employees in 2017. It sounds like none of them will work in an administrative building. 75% of new employees will never work in an administrative building. There is no leasing problem. Let me repeat, there is no leasing problem. We lease one building, the City Attorney Building. The lease on that building is $120,000 a year. You don't spend $25 million to solve a $120,000 problem. The first year debt service on the new building is $1 million, enough to pay for the lease on that building for 9 years. What you haven't been told is that we have an option to purchase this building and right of first refusal. We can own that building today for $1.2 million. The first year of debt service on the new building would almost buy the City Attorney Building. It's interesting to note the City Attorney loves this building, and it's in a perfect location, across the street from City Hall and a block from Carnegie Town Hall. If leasing is a huge issue, why not just buy the building? It would make sense, and then we'd have no leased buildings in the entire city, and it would cost a lot less than $24 million. Leasing is not always a bad thing. Leasing in the short term gives you flexibility and options. The 2012 study, in fact, said leasing was the best option because of the low cost of office space and no capital outlay would be involved. We've heard various straw man arguments regarding leases. One of them goes, imagine if your forefathers leased City Hall for the last 80 years. No one is proposing that we lease for the next 80 years. We're given this false choice. Either go with this plan or lease for the next 80 years. The city leasing versus owning comparison is dishonest. It compares leasing 60,000 square feet on day one against building the 60,000-foot administrative building. Who in their right mind would lease 60,000 square feet on day one when you don't need most of that space for decades? When you do the comparison using the sane option, that is leasing space you need, leasing actually is far cheaper. Another straw man, costs are going up. Costs are going up on everything. If you bond this, other projects will be delayed and their costs will go up. If we're going to go forward with a project this big, shouldn't we have a long-range staffing plan in detail? If it exists, I haven't seen it. There have been no other viable options presented. We've been told no other building in the entire city will work. There have been no head-to-head comparisons, no cost-benefits analysis, nothing. There's no offsets, there's no cost savings. We aren't selling any buildings, we aren't consolidating anything. We were told we would move the Parks Department and utility billing to the new building. Moving utility billing makes no sense. The 2012 study recommended they don't move. It identified no need for them to collaborate with anyone. Their location is great, it's good parking, easy access, it's very convenient for their customers. Just go down and ask them. We're proposing to vacate a $500,000 building and turn it into storage. In this particular case, ceiling height actually does matter. It would be totally unworkable for storage for the event center. Even if it did work as storage, we'd stop using a $500,000 building as office space and turn it into a very expensive garage. How about the Parks Department building? It's located close to City Hall. It has a great location. It's worth $800,000. The Parks Department likes it. We're making good use of it. We'd clear that building out with no plan for how to use it in the future. Vacating 2 very good and very expensive buildings that are being used efficiently and using them to store our junk doesn't show a lot of business acumen. Let's talk about collaboration. We talk about moving parks to the new building with engineering so they can collaborate and the benefits of that. In moving engineering to the administrative building, we fracture engineering and planning who work together very closely. What are we accomplishing? We're fracturing 2 departments that work hand in hand and trading that for collaboration with the Parks Department. How are we better off? Let's talk about collaboration with the county. Why would we discuss buying toilet paper together to save money but then totally abandon the idea of collaborating on this? Our idea of collaboration is to tell the county, hey, we want to stop wasting money leasing, so we're building a new building. We didn't bring you in until after we designed it. And by the way, do you want to waste your money leasing our 3rd floor? What kind of collaboration is that? The cost per square foot is very high as this amount of square footage allocated per employee, and I'm referring to finished square footage. Did anyone notice a straw man about the employees in the space known as a swamp totally disappeared? Maybe that's because they love it down there. Just go down and ask them. Let's talk about the lack of a plan and moving the goalposts. Up until a week ago, the plan was to move parks and utility billing. At the veto press conference, the mayor said no decisions have been made and we're working on it. Are we building a $25 million building without a concrete plan of how we'll even use it? Don't forget the debt service and the ongoing capital costs we'll have going forward if we build this. On a $25 million building, the capital improvements are not going to be cheap as the years go by. There is no retention or recruitment problem. We've debated ceiling heights and air quality, but in the end, people want to work for the city. Building new is the most expensive option. Just ask our finance director, who said this at the informational meeting on February 23rd, 2016, and I quote, "If you're looking and hinging a decision on is it going to pencil out a net savings to the city, I think clearly it's not if we have a new building," end quote. I want the citizens to know that this is not replacing City Hall. This is a new building in addition to City Hall. Many citizens believe this is a new City Hall. It is not. When they are told this is a new building in addition to City Hall, they are stunned. The era of big government is here. Remember, if you build it, they will come. Once we build this building, which will start mostly vacant, it will be filled with government employees. The taxpayers will have to pay for all of this. This will be the largest expansion of city government in my lifetime. The goal should not be to grow city government. But this proposal is also coming from those who believe that government buildings should cost 50% more than those in the private sector. This is what big government looks like. Some have talked about the dream of a government mall or corridor. Sorry, but that's a nightmare for me. In conclusion, this is a massive expansion of government. It shows no regard for the taxpayer or the citizens. I'm proud of our effort. The citizens want this repealed. They are behind us. Apparently, elected officials are not going to listen. The people are going to have to force this issue. We made the tough decision. We led, and we were overruled. I urge you to sign the petition, carry a petition, make them listen. Thank you.
Councilor, thank you. Folks, apologize. We don't do that here. Sorry, but thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Councilor Staley.
Earlier tonight, the issue of our campaigns came up, our platform. And each of us here were elected. We each ran with different ideas that we presented to the public. And we, 4 of us, just came off the campaign trail. Hasn't been that like 4 months ago. And I need to say that as I was running, I pledged to the citizens that I was going to be working to put more money of that second penny towards fixing our streets, maintaining our streets. I also pledged personally that I was going to hold the line on debt. Now, would you put that up there, please? I have a chart that was prepared by Dave Bixler, he is our budget analyst, about the second penny. And as we get that into focus there, we're going to see that the debt service right now coming out of the second penny, which if we hearken back to the days of Loila Hunking, it was for streets, initially implemented for that. Now we have 27% of that as it is now that we are spending, that we are obligating to debt service. I'm very happy about the 57% highways and streets, but I think the citizens of our community, if given the chance to weigh in on that, would want that 57% to be even a larger percentage. We have also been told we have a softening sales tax revenue coming in, and we have heard elements of caution from our finance director, Tracy Turbeck. I'm a cautious person in my own finances, so I think I was elected. I did get elected. I was preaching conservative restraint. So that's why I cast my vote the way I did for this last time around. This has been a contentious issue. We know that. We had the split before we came on board, the 4-4, 2 times with the tie happening with the mayor. And then we come around with this 5-3 thing going on. So it's been a divided issue. We have this petition drive going on right now, and I'm grateful to those people doing that. I've been participating in that. I've had 2 petition drives under my belt. I will tell you, it's a huge feat. And I know that tonight it's probably going to be a done deal that we're going to be past this part of it. But I have been rallying my fellow council members to be open to an advisory vote so that we would help these petitioners out because they are in a time crunch. And I have severe concerns about how their efforts are going to be respected once they get the signatures. So I am hoping that we would be able to step up and say, you know, this is a big issue for our city. $24 million is no small thing. And I know there are people in our community that think we should be voting on more of these things. I will say we have the event center, and I said to the mayor that I appreciate that we got to vote on that. We have an event center, beautiful event center. We have the new aquatic center that we don't even know how we're going to handle that financially. So we've got things coming around the bend that we're going to have to deal with to be responsible for the citizens. So I think that, to me, the best thing would be to let the citizens weigh in on this. I think that the community would wrap their arms around that if we went that route, and that's my story.
Councilor Staley, thank you. Thank you for the comments. A roll call vote, please. Oh, wait, Councilor
Could
Kylie?
we just have clarification from
Sure.
Attorney Fifley as to what a no and a yes means?
Attorney Fifley, would you explain to the council what if they were to vote yes, what that means, and if they vote no, what that means? Thank you. Council Vice Chair Kylie, it's a good idea. Thank you.
The pending motion is a motion to approve ordinance number 83-16. Essentially, you are doing a second vote on what was done the last time, where it would repeal the ordinance authorizing the sale and appropriation of sales tax revenue bonds to fund and construct the new city administration building. So a yes vote is in favor of a repeal, which would vote to override a veto, to put it in common nomenclature, and a no vote would be the opposite, in that you are voting against the repeal ordinance.
Councilors, everybody understand that?
Again, I'm sorry, Mayor, and it would take 6 yes votes to override the veto.
Thank you, David. Appreciate it. Council Vice Chair Kylie, thank you for that as well. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
No.
Kylie?
No.
Neitzer?
Yes.
Rolfing?
No.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
That is failed 5-3. Is that the way to say it, David? Council, that is failed 5-3. Item 37.
Item 37 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 810 South 10th Avenue from the RD1 Twin Home Duplex Residential Suburban District to the RT1 Single Family Residential Traditional District, petition number 4722-2016, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. The Planning Commission recommends approval 8-0.
Jason Bieber, representing Planning and Building Services. This is an application by Dan Parker. And you can see it's located at the northeast corner of 10th Avenue and East 16th Street, just west of South Cliff Avenue. It's roughly 0.13 acres in size, a current vacant lot. And the purpose of this application is they are looking at constructing a single family house with an attached garage on the lot.
Folks, this is a second reading. Did anybody want to talk about this item with the council? Sir, did you want to? Okay. Councilors?
Move to approve Neitzer.
Second, Kylie.
Councilor Neitzer's made a motion to approve this item, seconded by Councilor Vice Chair Kylie. If there's no discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Thank you. Item 38.
Item 38 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at West 5th Street and east of North Marion Road from the O Office District to the CN Conservation District, petition number 4746-2016, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 8-0.
The applicant here is Sarah Associates. The owner is Legacy LLP. It's roughly a 1.3 acre vacant site. The purpose of this specific rezoning is to use the 1.3 acres for additional detention area.
Folks, again, a second reading. Anybody want to discuss this with the council? Councilors? Yeah, Councilor, any?
Move to approve, Erpenbach.
Second, Selberg.
Councilor Erpenbach's made a motion to approve this item, seconded by Councilor Selberg. If no discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Thank you. Item 39.
Item 39 is the second reading and ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 715 to 721 West 13th Street from the RT1 Single Family Residential Traditional District to the RT2 Townhome Residential Traditional District, petition number 4846, 2016, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 8-0.
The applicant here is the City of Sioux Falls Planning Department. This is first of our city-initiated rezonings. It is located at 3 properties here on West 13th Street. It does include 3 specific houses. Each of these existing homes does have more than 1 unit. This proposed rezoning will allow these converted houses with more than 1 unit.
Jason, thank you. Folks, anybody want to engage the council? Councilors?
Move to approve, Erickson.
Second.
Councilor Bach has made a motion, Councilor Erickson, my apologies, has made a motion to approve item 39, seconded by Councilor Staley. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
No. Oh, I mean, yes, I'm sorry.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Thank you, Council. Item 40.
Item 40 is a second reading and ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 301 South Prairie Avenue from the RT2 Townhome Residential Traditional District to the LW Live Work District, petition number 4847, 2016, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 8-0.
This is the second of our city-initiated rezonings. This is currently an existing home that does have an office on the first floor, also an apartment on the second floor. The proposed zoning to live work will allow them to continue to have the office on the first floor and then the apartment upstairs.
Jason, thank you. Folks, anybody interested in engaging the council? Councilors?
Move approval, Rolfing.
Second, Erpenbach.
Council Chair Rolfing has been a motion to approve this item, seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 41.
Item 41 is a second reading and ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 421 West 7th Street from the RT1 Single Family Residential Traditional District to the S1 General Institutional District, petition number 4848, 2016, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 8-0.
This is also city-initiated rezoning. It's just west of Minnesota Avenue. It is currently the location of Family Connection, which is a temporary housing for families with loved ones in prison. The proposal to zone it to S1 will continue to allow them to do business as they currently do, providing a home or a place for loved ones to stay.
Jace, thank you. Anybody interested? Councilors? Councilor Erpenbach.
Question, Jason. This is just housekeeping for us, is that correct? Or is there a change in their mission coming?
I'm not aware of them having a change, but this is just housekeeping.
Okay, thank you. I'd move to approve, Mayor.
Second, Rolfing.
Councilor Bach's made a motion to approve this item, seconded by Councilor Chair Rolfing. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing? Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 42.
Item 42 is a second reading and ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 1215 East 28th Street from the RS Single Family Residential Suburban District to the RD1 Twin Home Duplex Residential Suburban District, petition number 4849, 2016, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
This is also city-initiated rezoning. It's located 1 block east of Cliff Avenue and just south of East 26th Street. There currently is a home on there that contains more than 1 unit. The proposed rezoning will allow them to continue to utilize it as a duplex that it has been for some time. So,
Jason, thank you. Anybody interested in discussing this item? Councilors?
Move approval, Rolfing.
Second, Selberg.
Council Chair Rolfing would like to make a motion to approve this item. Seconded by Councilor Selberg. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Thank you. Item 43.
Item 43 is a second reading and ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 724 East 8th Street from the RT1 Single Family Residential Traditional District to the C2 Commercial Neighborhood and Streetcar District. Petition number 4850, 2016, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 8-0.
This is also a city-initiated rezoning. It is located at the old janitor's closet business. The parcel to the north here that contains their warehouse, or old warehouse, was inadvertently zoned to RT1. This proposal to rezone it to C2 then will get the whole parcel back under commercial zoning and what the current use of the parcel is.
Jason, thank you. Anybody in the audience want to speak to this item? Councilors?
Move approval.
Thank you.
Second.
Councilor Starr has made a motion to approve this item, seconded by Councilor Chair Rolfing. If no discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing? Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 44.
Item 44 is a second reading and ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 3301 North Aurora Circle from the RS Single Family Residential Suburban District to the RD1 Twin Home Duplex Residential Suburban District. Petition number 4851, 2016, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 8-0.
This is the last of our city-initiated rezonings. It's currently a vacant lot just east of North Marion Road. This parcel, along with the parcels to the south, did have a previous conditional use permit approved for twin homes. And so we are proposing to rezone this to RD1, and then they would finish out that last lot with a twin home similar to the parcels to the south.
Jason, thank you. Anybody in the audience interested in speaking? Yes, Councilor Nitzert, sir.
I just want to say thank you for bringing these forward as someone who's asked about it. I really appreciate it, and I would make a motion to approve.
Second, Erickson.
Councilor Nitzert's made a motion to approve this item, seconded by Councilor Erickson. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 45.
Item 45 is a second reading and ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 5000 West 26th Street from the O Office District to the C3 Commercial Community District, petition number 4867, 2016, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
The applicant here is Paul Reynolds. The owner is the St. Michael's Parish. This is located just northeast of the Hy-Vee on 26th and Marion Road. We've seen this project a couple of times. They are now looking at rezoning a .06 acre strip. With their building and parking lot plans, they had to buy an additional 10 feet from St. Michael's to get everything to fit on the lot. So they're looking at just rezoning that little 10 by 317 foot strip.
Jason, thank you. Anybody in the audience want to speak to this? Councilors?
Move to approve, Erpenbach.
Second, Kylie.
Councilor Brock's made a motion to approve this item, second by Council Vice Chair Kylie. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 46.
Item 46 is a second reading and ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 1800 West 41st Street from the RD1 Twin Home Duplex Residential Suburban District to the C2 Commercial Neighborhood and Streetcar District, petition number 4870, 2016, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 7-1.
The applicant and owner here is Bruce Narrison with Will City Auto. It is located the northwest corner of 41st and South Glendale Avenue. It's roughly 0.8 acres. The purpose of this is to redevelop the existing Will City Motors auto site and display area. They are also going to be required, if this is approved, a level C buffer yard on that north side as well as a portion of the east side of the property. Planning staff has looked at this, and there's kind of two distinct areas for this specific case. Area 1 is a parcel that's zoned RD1 but has been utilized by an auto dealership since 2011, so we are recommending approval of that specific area. Area 2 is where they're proposing to demolish those 2 existing homes and expand the business. That is an area that staff is recommending denial because of the neighborhood creep and pushing too far into the neighborhood.
Jason, thank you. Anybody in the audience? This is second reading. Councilors, Councilor Neitzer.
Jason, as I recall at the Planning Commission meeting, I think there was the neighbor on the northwest side had expressed some concern about an existing fence, and then it was going to move, and then they wouldn't have a fence. Had that been worked out with the property owner, or what?
Maybe the applicant answered that better. The applicant at the meeting didn't have a problem pushing the fence all the way over to the property line to kind of appease that neighbor on the northwest side. So I'm assuming it'll probably get worked out as they go. But
may I have the applicant just answer
absolutely.
that?
Good evening, Bruce Narrison. I'm the applicant. I did address it with a neighbor. In fact, I came up with a contingency plan to move the fence 2 foot off from her property line if that's what she so chose to do. And I have that drawing if you want to throw it up. I apologize. Be happy to answer any other questions.
Councilor Neitzer, anything additional, sir?
So I guess, so it's going to alleviate her issue?
Correct.
Okay, and then Jason, will that satisfy your buffer yard requirements? Is the fence okay right there?
Yes, the fence will work there, and it just can't be on the property line, which he indicated that it was going to be 2 feet off, so that will satisfy the buffer yard as long as he's still providing the 2 foot berm. So.
Okay, thank you.
Councilors, will anybody? Yes, Councilor Erpenbach.
Just a question, Jason. If we approve only Area 1 and not Area 2, what does that do? And maybe you could answer that as well. That how does that affect your planning if we were to only approve Area 1 and not Area 2?
We have to have Area 2 to build with the setbacks, and then the way that we laid out the plan, if you look at the east side, employee parking, which currently we're having to park on the street, it'll eliminate us from having to park on the street so we can park on the lot. And we're going from a 0 setback to the 20-foot new landscape berm.
Right, thank you. Mr. Mayor, if I might, one more. Jason, would you show us that, I know that you've got it, the 41st Street map with the zigzag of the sort of what the neighborhood looks like? And I would just point out to my colleagues then, it wouldn't be quite as far as some of those that have been approved previously. But it is a concern. The neighborhood creep in that area is a serious concern for us. This one, I guess the gentleman isn't able to do his plans to the extent that he would like to without that extra. So I'd leave that to you, but just to be aware that we're allowing this to creep farther and farther.
Councilors, would anybody want to make a motion on this item, or is there some discussion? Councilor Neitzer, did you have some additional discussion, sir? Go right ahead.
I will make a motion to approve this and to approve both A and B as presented.
Seconded. Thank you. Councilor Neitzer's made that motion, seconded by Councilor Chair Rolfing. Councilor Erpenbach.
One more question, if I might. Just kind of spinning this in my mind, Jason, can you talk about, do we have a requirement for them for the number of employee parking spaces that would be allowed there or required there?
They are required a certain number of spaces. However, we don't differentiate between employee parking or display spaces.
So think back a few months ago to the Billion lot on 41st and Duluth-ish, right? Mm-hmm. Did we require a certain number of spaces for employees to park there? Was that part of our requirement? Do you remember?
We did for the billiard lot. We required a certain number of employee spaces. That was part of the rezoning, a conditional rezoning. This one, we're not, we don't have that in our recommendation to require a certain number of employee spaces. But we did do that on the employee, or the billion project.
Can I ask the petitioner? Sir, could I ask you, how many employee parking spots are you planning to have there?
We have 11 employee parking spots and 6 employees.
And will it always be 11 parking spots for employees, or will you, I mean, we've got some extra cars, we need to put them in the employee spot.
No.
Employees are going to park on the street during that
It'll be
time.
employee parking because it's behind the building, so it wouldn't be display parking for 41st Street.
Okay. I'm comfortable with that. Thank you. I appreciate it.
See, we've already got a motion and we've got a second. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staley?
Yes.
Erickson? Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Thank you, Council. Item 47.
Item 47 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 2101 South Elucid Avenue from the RS Single Family Residential and Suburban District to the RT1 Single Family Residential Traditional District. Petition number 4871, 2016, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 8-0.
The applicant here is Agape Construction. It is located at that southwest corner of Euclid and 29th Street. The purpose of this is to construct a single-family home on a small corner lot.
Jason, thank you. Folks, second reading. Councilors?
Move to approve.
Second.
Councilor Staley's made a motion to approve this item, second by Councilor Chair Rolfing. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Council, item 48.
Item 48 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at West 24th Street and South Spring Avenue from the O Office District to the C2 Commercial Neighborhood and Streetcar District, petition number 4873, 2016, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 8-0.
The applicant and owner here is BHI Construction. It's roughly a 0.80 acre site. The purpose of this is they are proposing to raise the existing building that sits up along South Minnesota Avenue and then construct a new fast food restaurant. They will then overlay and restripe the existing parking lot to the west for employee and customer parking.
Jason, thank you. Folks, second reading. Anybody interested? Councilors?
Move approval, Rolfing?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Rolfing. Thank you, Councilor Staley. Councilor Nitzert.
Can you just clarify what that existing building is in that box and if that's staying?
Say that again.
I just want to know what that existing building in this in that square.
Chiropractic office.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
It's the office building.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Item 49.
Item 49 is a second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances for Chapter 156 Floodplain Management and 157 Subdivision Ordinance.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, Jeffrey Schmidt, representing planning staff on this item. We presented this informational, and then at first reading, I have the same slides up just in case council had questions or comments, or if any of the citizens, but otherwise I'm just going to whip through it really quick and not spend a lot of time on the slides for brevity. National Flood Insurance Program, floods are natural processes. The timeline has been updated. Here we are on August 2nd. September 7th is when we should be able to get our letter of final determination on the levee projects, and then March of 2017 would be the effective date. But again, after tonight, we'd have the ordinance being adopted to be able to move forward with the requirements from FEMA. Now, in regards to the southwest part of Sioux Falls, I've also updated those dates for anybody and the citizens at home that are watching this, because even like last time, I had citizens call after watching City Council. The existing ordinance, statement of purpose, protecting human health and life. Existing ordinance, the methods to reducing that, to restrict and prohibit uses that are dangerous to and controlling where people are building. Our subdivision design, flood hazard areas, floodplains are not static. They're always going to be changing. We have to be able to address that. Based upon history, community rating system, all these things, what we're trying to do is make sure that we're consistent. We're updating the ordinance. The first section in the ordinance update is putting the new date into the ordinance. So the new date for the maps would be coming effective would be March 7th of 2017. And then I've added a copy of the floodplain map if anybody had questions showing what's being changed on any of the areas. We're adding in section 4 that hydraulic and hydrology is being required, that you would not be able to go to the Board of Adjustment and ask for a variance in elevations. There's a $50 fee that would be required for people coming in asking for a floodplain development application. And again, that's only required if you're in a floodplain. It's not for anybody else. For reducing the risk to doing this, if you're in a floodplain area, you need to come in and do a hydraulic and hydrology analysis to show us what those impacts are. And then we're addressing that again in Chapter 11 with the engineering design standards that's later on your agenda today. For residential construction, we're being consistent with the building and home builders issues with the minimum grade elevations. The section 13 for structures, this is something that's already our existing policy. If someone comes in and does a letter of map revision, they're required before they build that they give us these 3 things before they can build. Also now in regards to being consistent, if a preliminary subdivision plan comes in, we're going to be looking at flood hazard and drainage data, again based on those engineering design standards. Chapter 11 we'll be seeing again later this evening, but it's hydraulics and hydrology. Standards for subdivision proposals, we're not only looking at the floodplain area, but just outside there so that we're not impacting these residential homes that are building just outside the floodplain because, again, the floodplains are not static. They're always going to be changing. Floodproofing is one of the things that they can do. They can minimize their impacts to their properties by floodproofing, and then they have to be able to give us a floodproofing certificate. And please always understand that we're trying to protect human life and health. So if there's any questions or comments in this second reading.
Jeffrey, thank you. Folks, anybody want to discuss this item with the council? Very good. Councilor Knight, sir.
A couple of questions for Jeff. Can you explain how do you design so that streets and sidewalks don't aggravate flood levels? Do you have an example of that, just for?
Sure. So if you're building streets and sidewalks in an area, are they being raised up? So right now the water flow could be through that area or on top of that. So are you raising up a street and sidewalk as an obstacle?
Okay.
So where are you going to put that street? And again, just try to be visual. I mean, is it flat, plain to the grade, or are you going to put it up and so it's obstructing it? No, put it down below.
Okay. And then your dates for when you can start issuing permits, that was way back near the beginning.
Yep. I can start doing permits tomorrow if this approves.
People can start moving dirt?
Tomorrow, if this gets approved.
So, and that's great news. I'd love to hear that. I just want to
Thank you.
What's the difference between that and the date that the maps are effective?
A lot of things. The bottom line says flood insurance no longer required. So, but could I do a permit based upon the preliminary data and that the floodplain ordinance has been adopted? We've already done everything else. We've done the 30-day comment period, we've done the appeals, we've done the ordinances. But if the ordinance doesn't get adopted, then FEMA's already reviewed the ordinance, everything's been approved. So tomorrow I could start doing building permits.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you.
Councilor Neisert, would you want to make a motion to approve?
I'd love to make motion to approve.
Thank you, Councilor.
Second, Kiley.
Thank you, Councilor Vice Chair Kiley. Thank you. Before we vote on this, folks, this is one of the biggest wins in our city in a long, long time. And it's interesting, it's got no coverage. and not that we're trying to get coverage, but the amount of work that has gone into this
as well as the amount of investment that has gone in this by the citizens and by prior councilors and by prior mayors and by city employees has been just unbelievable. And here we are at the finish line, and Councilor Neitzer, thank you for asking that question, because tomorrow, maybe I should shut up there, because I don't want to influence your vote. Sorry, I'm not supposed to influence your vote, but now I'm just going to shut up. I'm just going to shut up. And then maybe we'll talk about it afterward. Let's vote. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staley?
Yes.
Erickson? Yes. Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Thank you. That has been 6-0. Now that you've voted, let me just say, one of the biggest wins in our city in a long, long time. We've got a booming economy, record construction, but there's an entire area of our town that we've not been able to develop for a long, long time. And now, thanks to the work or the leadership and investment of citizens, councilors, mayors, city employees, visionaries, dreamers, it could start tomorrow.
And Mr. Idy sat here for a long time tonight, but there's a lot of people that are very interested in this, and they're hoping that tomorrow they can pull a building permit.
Okay. Well, thank you. And councilors, I thank you as well. Appreciate that. Item 50.
Item 50 is a first reading to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, August 9th, 2016 at 7 p.m. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances for Chapter 39, Personnel, Regulations and Benefits, Retirement and Pensions.
Bill, welcome.
Mayor and City Council, Bill O'Toole, Human Resources. I'll be brief tonight. We'll spend some more time on second reading if you'll allow us a second reading on August 9th. The fact of the matter is we've had discussions about these ordinances at prior informationals, but just to give you some flavor, there's a lot of items within these updates that I'd consider housekeeping measures, but some of the more substantive issues that we'll be talking about in more detail involve amending the political activity provisions of the personnel ordinances, as well as the minimum and maximum age at entry for public safety employees, as well as mandatory retirements for those employees as well. But as I said at the outset, we'll get into more details about that if you're set a date of hearing for August 9th. Thank you.
Yes, Councilor Neitzert.
Director O'Toole, just one question. It's been a while, so the repeal of the provision that I believe barred city employees from donating to municipal candidates, is that correct? Is that what it's doing?
That is one of the provisions in Section 39038 on political activity, repealing that provision.
And the reasoning again was?
There were some legal concerns that I would defer to the city attorney, but I'll try to summarize my understanding. He can certainly elaborate. There's also a provision in city charter that addresses this issue as well, but as it relates to the personnel ordinances on the restrictions for city employees donating to campaigns, there were some concerns about the constitutionality of that provision. And that's as far as I'm going to go for my legal provision.
And I take it that comes out of the Citizens United decision? Is that, could I ask the city attorney that, or?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Councilor Neitzert. I mean, it comes from a long line of cases, and I don't want to belabor the legal point if you'll bear with me for about a minute. This ordinance was passed, as far as we can tell, at least back in 1957 or sooner. And in about 1981, the U.S. Supreme Court started making holdings that donating money is political speech. And there's been a long progression over the last 30 years of where the U.S. Supreme Court has recognized those free speech rights and recognized them over certain governmental concerns as far as you'd say, like the Hatch Act, the pernicious activity of politics getting into federal employees and all that. So you're right, it's the Citizens United case in 2010, and then also in 2014 there was a couple of cases that came down both from the U.S. Supreme Court and also from a federal Circuit Court of Appeals, which is just below the U.S. Supreme Court. And we've been monitoring the progression. I certainly have since I've been in this role. We were revamping all of the ordinances at this time. Certainly the literature that you're reading out there about ethics and what city governments across the nation are doing, they seem to be more narrowly tailoring how they deal with the problem of employees not being subjected to quid pro quo direct solicitation from elected officials, give me money or else you're out, so to put it bluntly. So what has happened is they're trying to narrowly tailor those. With this 39-038, we're recommending a repeal because this is simply an outright ban. It's not narrowly tailored. The charter has 5 subsets that more narrowly tailor, and as I said when this was up a few months ago, we'll need to talk with the Charter Revision Commission about maybe presenting to the voters ultimately a more narrowly tailored approach, because we want to recognize it as we don't want this problem within our city. It hasn't been a problem, fortunately for us, so we don't have a history of this problem. Where cities have been challenged from an outright ban, those cities have had to produce in court evidence that they've had an actual problem, not just a perceived problem, but an actual problem, and that they've narrowly tailored the solution to solve that problem without getting too far into the free speech rights of employees. I would like to have that discussion with the Charter Revision, and obviously you folks are always invited to every one of those meetings with the Charter Revision Commission, but for this personnel chapter with an outright ban, you're creating almost a quasi-criminal action of enforcement. I would strongly recommend that you repeal it.
And that's very good. But just to clarify, then, is there any case law on point that Citizens United had to do with corporations? So is there any case law on point or that has to do with banning government employees from donating to the same entity to which they work for, or something like that? We know that it reaches to government employees?
The 2014 case I referenced from the Federal Circuit Court of Appeals involved exactly that, where it was a city charter provision from a city out in the East Coast. It was the Third Circuit Court of Appeals. That court said that probably goes too far in terms of trying to alleviate a problem that was seen by that city, as they didn't want employees solicited by elected officials, feeling forced or coerced to donate. So yes, and that 2014 case from that Circuit Court of Appeals was based on the McCutcheon case, kind of recognizing what Chief Justice Roberts said as far as, other than prohibiting quid pro quo solicitations, the court was going to question any other attempts to ban political speech through campaign.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'd move we set date of hearing for second reading on Tuesday, August 9th.
Second, Urbanbach.
There's been a motion to set that date of hearing for Tuesday, August 9th for that second reading by Councilor Chair Rolfing, seconded by Councilor Urbanbach. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Item 51.
Item 51 is a first reading to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, August 23rd, 2016 at 7 p.m. at the Joint City Council Lincoln County Commission meeting. Reminder to the council that'll be held in Canton. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances of said city by rezoning property at the southeast 1/4 Section 21, Township 100 and North, Range 50 West, Lincoln County, from the AG Agricultural District to the I-1 Light Industrial District. The Joint Planning Commission recommends approval. Sioux Falls 5-0, Lincoln County 6-0.
Jason Bieber again with Planning and Building Services. This is an application that's located within our Lincoln City of Sioux Falls joint jurisdiction area. The applicant is Reggie Kuipers. The owner is Sharon Deeb. It is located west of Southwestern Avenue and north of Highway 106, just south of proposed Highway 100, or Veterans Parkway. It's roughly 7 acres, and the purpose of this is to construct phase 1 of a proposed self-storage development, which will consist of 2 buildings for the first phase.
Thanks, Jason. Folks, anybody want to set a date of hearing, second reading for Tuesday, August 23rd at 7 p.m. at the Joint City Council Lincoln County Commission meeting?
So moved.
Second, Urbanbach.
Thank you, councilors. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staley?
Yes.
Erickson? Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 52.
Item 52 is a resolution of the City of Sioux Falls approving the preliminary plan of Sycamore Springs Addition. The Planning Commission recommends approval 8-0.
The applicant is Pat Schwabach. The owner is Mike Barber. It's located west of South Sycamore Avenue between 65th Street and 61st Street. It's roughly 36.7 acres. The purpose of this development is to construct some office and residential, and then water and sewer will be extended from South Sycamore Avenue.
Councilors, anybody want to make a motion to approve this item?
Move approval.
Thank you, Councilor.
Second?
Thank you, Council Vice Chair. Councilor Erpenbach?
Public input.
Oh, I'm sorry. Folks, it is a thank you, Councilor Erpenbach. It is a resolution. Anybody want to discuss this item? Very good. There has been a motion to approve it. Seconded. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 53.
Item 53 is a resolution of the City of Sioux Falls approving the preliminary plan of South Cliff Grasslands Addition. Planning Commission recommends approval 8-0.
The applicant here is Eric Wildson. The owner is Joel Engel. It's located northwest of the East 85th Street and South Cliff Avenue. It's roughly 10 acres in size. The purpose of this one is to construct an office and commercial development with roughly 8 lots.
Folks, anybody want to discuss this item? Councilors?
Move approval, Rolfing.
Second, Selberg.
Council Chair Rolfing has made a motion to approve this resolution, seconded by Councilor Selberg. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg? Starr?
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Item 54.
Item 54 is a resolution amending the City of Sioux Falls engineering design standards.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Lance Weatherly representing Public Works Storm Drainage. The proposed engineering design standard update for Chapter 11.1.9 H&H hydraulic and hydrologic standards is related to the previous floodplain ordinance presented this evening by Jeff Schmidt. Basically, this is the engineering component to that ordinance. It'll set the standard for completing an H&H analysis, making sure now that we are any development, any proposed development in a floodplain will be developed properly. It's used to determine if it'll comply with the floodplain ordinance, basically regarding flow rate of drainage and any depth of water. The item was presented to IRAB twice to allow the developers and contractors ample time to consider it and come back at the second meeting. And IRAB ultimately gave it a vote of support. We also surveyed a cross-section of consulting engineers, had a meeting, and looked at standards that are peer communities to determine these H&H standards. Another proposed change is in Chapter 12. That is in our erosion and sediment control requirements. This is the update construction requirements related to stormwater quality, and I would be happy to answer any questions and request your vote of support.
Folks, anybody in the audience want to discuss this item? Councilors, any comments, questions? Councilor Staley?
Move to approve.
Thank you, Councilor Staley.
Second.
Thank you, Council Chair. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Item 55.
Item 55 is a report of the July 29, 2016 Notice of Transfer of Appropriations within Major Organizational Units.
Thank you so much. City of Sioux Falls, the city councilors started their day today very, very early, with budget meetings starting as early as, was it 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock? 2 o'clock. It is now 9:45. So this part-time city council has been working full-time, at least today, and I can assure you they do it every day. So with that in mind, let's get them home.
Would anybody want to make a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So move.
Been a motion by Councilor Vice Chair Kiley, seconded by Councilor Chair Rolfing to adjourn this meeting and go home. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This meeting is adjourned, Sioux Falls. Thank you, City Council, for your service. Make it a great, great night.